So we are going to talk about Fate of Apocrypha, and to be honest, I kind of feel like it will it will probably sound a lot better than it actually is because I kind of feel like you can talk a lot about it, but there are certain issues in the execution of the anime. So Heraclius, so in the server, before we started, like the first thing you did when I suggested or somebody suggested watching Fate of Apocrypha was to basically explain the stuff that people need to know.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and and some of the things I put in, like in terms of the Greater Grail, like end up being fucking wrong for this show because apparently, like just off screen, they don't tell you that like shit has changed from like the last war, which is weird. I don't even remember what I put in that, so you'd have to link it to me. Or maybe if I just scroll back very, very far on the recording channel, either way.
I think it was some basic stuff like you know what is the Holy Grail for stuff like that, right?
Essentially. I mean, they give you an idea of what the Holy Grail War is, but there's some, like, particular things with regards to, like, fate lore, and... But here's the thing. This show does not care so much about fate lore. It tries to have a veneer of it, and this is something that's going to change for some people. Like, some people, like, legit don't care about fate lore. They think, this is fucking stupid, whatever. That it's all just a veneer. But for other people, yes?
No, go on.
But the thing is, there's always tended to be, like, a great deal of lore. Like, for example, in literally the first parts of the old Fate Stay Night visual novel, they go over the fact that really vague command seals, don't actually work. Like, if a command is too vague, like, and the first instance it gives is when orders to Archer, you cannot obey every single one of my commands. And Archer basically tells her, well, that was a wasted command seal. That's so vague that it doesn't have much effect on me. It has a little, as the show, as that VN will later show it playing out, but it's like a very limiting effect on him.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have in this show a command seal where the guy goes, I embed my very essence into you, and he somehow reincarnates into his servant immediately. It's just pure what the fuck. Pure boop. Nothing in... Like, Fate is not Harry Potter. Fate is all about the idea of, like, hey, magecraft is a science, it's limited, there's only so much shit you can do. And shit like that is like, boop, pure rules out the window. But I feel like we should start at the beginning. Georgia 2D, do you have any thoughts on sort of the beginning and the setup in this show?
Yeah, it had a lot of problems, especially the anime, because it cut out a lot. And I believe the beginning was very important for the story, the setup.
Yes.
They cut off too much from the characters.
So, do you remember what was cut off?
A lot of changes, and I don't understand them all of the time. Like, they give some lines of dialogue to other people for no reason, and I don't get why. I remember, like, Saber's master, Shigo, yes? I remember him doing some deduction at the very beginning, and those are cut out. And like it makes him look less competent that he is in the novel. And is this type of thing the stuff for everyone else?
Well,
And
Kyrie, I thought was all right set up at the start. What I'm more wondering about is characters like Darnik, characters like essentially all the other black
he was alright, but
actors.
he was supposed to kind of carry the first half of the show. Like he was supposed to be more than alright. He was supposed to be the center of the heart of the show for a long while.
I see.
In Mordred, and he kind of wasn't in the show.
Yeah, which I never understood. I remembered it kind of set up as Kiri is not exactly the main character, but more of a...
No, for the first half he was supposed to be like in the novel he is, and then the later half is Sieg, Jana, and also.
I see. So the novels, yeah, I think it would be nice to just talk a little bit about the novels and the manga, given that Judy, I think, has read 4 out of the five novels and all the 4 volumes of the manga. So, before we started recording, Judy, you said that you thought it would be better if the anime had like twice the episodes, but I don't know. I mean, like then again, the light novel is just 5 volumes and the manga is just 4. So I mean, was really that much cut out? Even though I mean, 5 volumes is not a lot. I don't know, or maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't remember because it's been a while, but I'm sure I made like I actually calculated the number of words, and I wanted at that time to be the double number of episodes, to be an appropriate number of words per episode from the novel. I mean,
fair enough. I mean, think for example. Like the protagonist motivations, Sieg's first motivation was to save the homunculi, but I didn't feel like the homunculi got enough characterization in the anime.
Well,
no, Sieg is Sieg is the most hated character in this in Fate in general, almost. He was kind of fucked up.
I'd say, to be fair, aside from a few characters, the majority of the characters, in my opinion, in Fate Apocrypha didn't have that much of screen time when it comes to character development.
Yes, and this was, in the anime at least, a particular problem at the start of the show, I found. You had long episodes where you had essentially nothing going on, but on top of that, you weren't learning anything in particular about these characters. You had like the basic setup of, okay, this is what the character is on the surface. You've got, okay, Frankenstein's like the sort of the shy, angry girl archetype, I guess you might say. Vlad is just like the aristocrat king. You have fetish character, Master of Astolfo. You have absolutely useless Fatso Master. You have Siegfried's whole bit of like motivations set up in a flashback right before he dies to explain why he commits suicide to give life to Sieg.
Yeah.
Little things like that, which are like, there's either not much there, or it happens so fast it comes across as very sloppy.
Yeah, also, by the way, about that, the fetish master in the front, in the anime they added one scene with them doing cute thing because, cute girls. Like, in the novel they don't have that much screen time.
Yeah, for me, every time that fat oaf or that Master of Astolfo was on screen, I just couldn't stand it. I was angry at the show when those two were on screen.
Yes, because half their screen time is filler, in a sense.
It is. Well,
Yeah.
and also to be fair, I would argue that at least half of the servants are just, I would say, fetishes. Or
Astolfo definitely is, for obvious reasons.
Frankenstein, yes.
Frankenstein, yeah, to a great extent. They at least did something with her. Jack the Ripper, again, the same.
Yeah, I think so. So basically, the whole gimmick which this series is based on, to differentiate it from earlier other Fate series, is that now it's two teams against each other rather than just you know rather than
Yes.
It's not really, because they do that in Fate Strange Fake also. Kind of two teams.
In which show?
Strange Fake.
Right, but Strange Fake was another idea that I think they only came out. I haven't kept up with Strange Fake and what's release, how that thing's been released. I remember it being like an idea, and then it got spin off into something else. But anyways,
4 or
this
5
came
worlds.
first. Okay, yeah, but this thing came first. Other than, okay, it was a short story back in a magazine in 09. This show, Fate Apocrypha, I know also started as a MMO project that didn't really go anywhere. And that's where all the character designs came through. And that's why you have certain guys like Shakespeare, who really aren't obvious ideas for characters for how on earth would this guy be useful in combat? But then they thought, oh well, how can we spin this off into a show? And it's well, you can have it in terms of the idea of two actual sides fighting amongst one another. And in this case, it's basically a rebel group of mages against the Mages Association. Now here's something I also found. Yig the Millennia, they're the black side. They come across like a side at the start that doesn't have any particular planning to them, aside from create Golem and Homunculi. They don't come across like a cohesive whole, and they don't come across like any of the masters on their same side know one another. Now, I know this Dornick guy has been literally just recruiting masters that are offering to join him, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like there's even the slightest bit of relation or trust between them. I remember reading, on the wiki, something about the older sister character Fiore, that she had that she was somewhat restrained around Dornick because he did have this temper to him that could lash out when people really went against his will. And I remember thinking, gee, it would have been nice if we saw any of that in the anime.
Yeah, I mean, Danik was pretty boring, I think. Because yeah, and yeah, go on.
And you would think he would not be. This is a guy, according to what they set up in the show, this is a guy who stole the Grail in the middle of a battle, teamed up with the Nazis to do so, and promised the Nazis that they'd get the Grail to win the war, then backstabbed the Nazis and set himself up inside Romania.
But the problem is that we don't actually see any of that. It's the same thing with Kotomi Neshiro, stupid name. We basically don't see him building up anything, or even collecting the materials to build the flying fortress, the gardens of the Babylon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Gate of Babylon was just like a noble phantasm out of Red's ass. That was Semiramis's thing because she's that old.
I guess too. Another thing to note is Shiro is basically based on a actual priest samurai who basically died a tragic fate.
Yes, Amakusa Shiro, not just based. He literally is that person.
I don't think that they did a good job of explaining the backstory, his backstory.
Yeah, not at all.
Because I only found out like how it's a real person and all that by watching some low videos.
Yeah, you get from it though the idea that he wants to like save everyone. He himself has been betrayed, just like Jean. They're definitely doing like sort of a parallel there between those two characters, and he's definitely a better like main villain or like main rival, however you want to put it, than Dornick is. Because Dornick, he most like I specifically remember this is a great example of this show's writing. You have like the end of one episode where Dornick's going, "Oh, I'm about to do something wicked." He doesn't literally say that. He's not sure, but he says that. Cut to credits. Whole next episode goes by. He doesn't show up for a second in there. And then in the next episode, all it is Vlad's going all out and Dornick gives and Vlad's being backed up against the corner and it's probably outmaneuvered. And then Dornick goes, "Oh, by my command seal, I order you, use your noble phantasm and somehow transplant myself into you." And it's like, oh, okay.
I don't think it was the command spell that did that. I think it was blood power to drink blood and essence and stuff. Like, I don't think it was the power of the command spells. She used to just to make blood use that power.
Yeah, he makes Vlad use that power, knowing that Dornick, that Vlad will kill him immediately for doing so, and Vlad does. But then as Dornick's dying, he says, "Now you will imbibe my essence inside you." And then all of a sudden, Dornick like becomes Vlad, is a part of Vlad, and this is part of the lore. And it's like,
Yeah.
I think
yeah, and it's like it's a total jump the shark moment. There's like,
To be honest, there's plenty of jump the shark moments in Fate Apocrypha, if I'm going to be honest.
oh yeah, sure.
I think I think that he basically used the same power which he had used to, like, I guess elongate his life because otherwise he didn't they say something that he
Yeah,
basically
he was transferring in soul in babies or something like that, no?
Yeah,
Throughout his life.
it says that quote, he fused his soul with an infant's to acquire longevity, which is like sort of weird. That makes sense as far as fate lore goes. It's just weird. That's just like not something I think you can do with a servant or not via command seal. I don't know. It's weird. Or at least it's not set up properly in the anime.
Another thing I noticed with the command seals is sometimes the command seals just feels like an excuse of the servants to power up.
Yeah, to be fair, that's actually viable as an idea. Because, like, the command seals, like, lore-wise, are just big blocks of mana or magical energy. So, like, usually you are going to use that for a command, But the masters in the show aren't as creative, so oftentimes they just use it as like, hey, here's a burst of magical energy. Use it.
Speaking.
Or, here's my command, you must live.
So, I mean, speaking of magical energy, I didn't feel. I kind of felt like back in Fate Zero and maybe Fate Stay Night, especially, that the fact that they didn't have enough magical energy for that this attack was a bigger deal. So like they had to
Yes.
manage their magical energy.
Yes, and in particulars, in Fate Stay Night, they make a big deal that Saber should be like one of the most powerful servants, but and be like cleaning people's clocks. But because Shiro is like such a amateur magus with so little magic circuits to get on call, she instead ends up being like one of the weakest servants at the start.
Yeah, whereas here it's like Danik has got like his homunculi, and Shiro has got I don't know, he has like 6 servants or something, but he can still provide magical energy to all of them because he used to be a servant.
Yeah, like at the start he's at least like just having them tied to the other masters, which like makes sense. And like they all just comatose asleep. But yeah, then he suddenly makes them all part of him, which again, according to Fate lore, that should really fuck him over unless he's like incredible. Not even just that. They sometimes go over the. I remember a conversation somewhere on Fate Stay Night where they talk about the fact that basically, if you try and go acquire a second servant, it would just make you weaker. And that the only mage at the time that it would remotely make sense for at that point was Iliasfeel, and that's just because she was like a homunculi and had like so much magical power behind her, etc. But he had like you're right, like 6 fucking servants tied not to their masters already. And I don't think it was just they literally it wasn't just that he took their command seals or anything. He like took their contracts wholesale and he's able to provide. And there's also the question of how he's even in the world, because
Didn't he achieve true incarnation, like human flesh and blood human?
Huh?
Isn't he a human? Or I misremember?
I think
he literally is a servant from the last war.
Yeah, but didn't he achieve some form of true incarnation after the end of the last war?
It's possible. Maybe. However, I do not believe that was ever explained in the anime itself.
Yeah, because I mean, I think even Gilgamesh, after even though he was able to remain because I don't know, he bathed in the Holy Grail or something.
Well, in Fate,
yeah,
in Fate's, there's. I had one guy telling me that he was reincarnated, quote unquote, in Fate Zero. I don't think so, because in Fate Stay Night, and admittedly Fate Zero was written after Fate Stay Night, in Fate Stay Night they explicitly have like a dungeon filled with like children from the fire 10 years ago, and they're all being like tortured to death. And it's the mana being like sucked from them that is actually keeping Gilgamesh in the world. It's like a basement full of these kids just in the basement of the Holy Church.
So basically, the only way that Kotome Nishiro would be able to remain alive like that would be if he actually had gotten the Holy Grail in the previous war. Yeah.
Do we ever see him dematerializing?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Do we ever see him dematerializing?
No, in fact, he actually dies like a normal human, which would seem to suggest that he got a wish to reincarnate via the Grail, though that then raises the question of why he didn't just wish for his other wish for
Isn't
the
he
Grail
wait,
back
wait,
then.
1 second. Isn't he a ruler like Jen? Jen, like, is not
Yes,
in the
an actual
previous-
servant. She has a body, human body, right? So maybe Hero is similar?
I don't
Well-
know if being a ruler class makes you necessarily makes you part of a person, and I mean even if it, and they don't explain that as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they don't.
I don't.
Say to kind of answer 2D's question. If I remember correctly, John was basically possessed by a, I forget who the character's name is, but she's kind of,
Letitia.
Letitia. She kind of just sort of possesses, so that's how they kind of get around that.
Yes.
Okay, so you think that basically Kotomine
No,
Shiro
I was
is,
asking if Hero is the same situation, like if he possessed someone human, a normal human.
but didn't the Holy Grail make Jan possess a French girl like because there was something wrong with that holy.
The Holy Grail War, yes, but ruler class servants are like an invention of the show and aren't supposed to exist to begin with. So there was also something wrong with the fourth one, where it summoned him as well as a ruler class servant,
I don't think.
and they
Didn't the
specifically.
No, wait a second. Didn't the Aidenbergs, the Ilias family, didn't they summon him to cheat?
Well, yeah, he was apparently summoned by the Eisenburn master of the time, and maybe the Eisenburns were cheating. I mean, certainly they need the help. But, yeah, again, it's one of those things where you start to try and figure it out, and it's like you guys read pages upon pages, and it doesn't make sense. Maybe we
they
should get off
explained
of it.
in the novel, but when I read it, it wasn't translated till that part.
Yeah, I'm looking over the wiki. There's no indication at all that he is sharing a body with any other, like, real person. It seems to just be himself as a servant. That said, he definitely, when he dies, he does not dematerialize like a servant, which would seem to indicate that he wished on the Grail, maybe somehow, even though it said that the Grail War ended in failure, maybe he somehow wished to become a human, but then why didn't he wish for his whole plan back then? Did he only come up with his plan later? We don't fucking know.
Maybe him dying as a human is anime filler. Maybe.
Is it something to do with the holy, the Greater Grail and the Lesser Grail or something? Because I remember that that I think that so the previous war was for the Lesser Grail or something, or was it the same as?
Yeah, like in Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero, everyone's fighting over the Lesser Grail, and the less. This is like really weird shit that like only exists in the Heavensfield route of Fate Stay Night, and you usually don't have to know. But like the really weird thing is like the Greater Grail is supposed to be what's like giving power to the Lesser Grail, and then you fight over the Lesser Grail. That's what usually happens, and like it only materializes after like 2 or 1 servants are left, and then it can be used. Which was, but in this version, like the Lesser Grail, they say got blown up, and I guess for that reason it couldn't rematerialize. So now everyone's just fighting over the thing that usually summons or like the Grail or turns it into the Grail. So it's weird. It's weird.
Leave it be. We don't know enough.
What about Gilles or however you say his name? You know the servant who was also there in Fate Zero, I think.
Gilgamesh?
No. No. Gilles.
Gildera.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was another very, very weird plot thing that happened where Castor Shakespeare is like doing his thing where I found him very annoying at the start of this show, where he's sort of like doing his little shtick and he's being very foppish and whatnot to a point that's kind of irritating. But he gets better when he gets a chance to use his noble phantasm, which is basically just he sends a character into their own mind and their own illusion, and they have to confront different parts of their past with Shakespeare sort of poking at them and trying to make them go mad or make themselves fall into depression in his own way. And he does that very well with Frankenstein. And there's a similar one that he does with Jeanne d'Arc at the end. And then the thing is, Gilles becomes a part of that because he like fought alongside John, yet turned out to be became like this fucking serial killer afterwards. And yet yet somehow this Gilles like materializes in the real world and like helps defend John afterwards, and that shouldn't be possible for a servant's noble phantasm, but I think we need to get off this topic. I think we've made our points.
I mean, but I remember maybe in Fate's Stay Night there was like Castor was able to get another fake servant who used to guard the temple or something.
Yeah, specifically what she did is she summoned a servant. Like, she summoned the assassin servant because that servant hadn't already been that slot of a servant hadn't already been taken. So she, as a caster, summoned that servant, and that led to summoning a servant who probably shouldn't be an assassin, but he got summoned anyway. And because it's Fate, and they always have to add in another extra wiggle thing, they added in the idea that it's Sasaki Kojiro, who's like the famous rival of Miyamoto Musashi. And they added in a little wiggle by saying, "Hey, there was no real Sasaki Kojiro. It was just a total myth." But therefore it created like a character who would be exactly to that myth, because they like one thing about Fate. They always like adding extra little wiggles, or they always like to push the rules a little bit here and there, and they always want to have like some new revelation around the corner and not have it get entirely stale.
So I think the worst master was probably, or rather, the worst servant was probably Spartacus.
Yeah, that was a terrible. There's a lot of characters that I can point to where it's like, man, what did they do? You could have done so much with this character, and then you just didn't.
You know what's funny with Spartacus? If you change his name to Frankenstein's monster, that would actually fit.
Better, yeah? Yeah, it would have.
Yeah, but to be honest, if you follow the Frankenstein novel, I can't really see him as a heroic spirit. He's considering the ending.
Well, the thing is, when they talk about heroic spirits, they're not really talking about, oh, this guy's a hero. They're talking about it in like the terms of a term like Eiyu is what they use in Japanese. That basically means like, oh, this guy's like really famous. So it's sort of like you might think of Mechmed II as fucking evil tyrant that destroyed Byzantium, depending on your perspective.
Yeah.
But he would still be a hero, quote unquote, in a heroic spirit. Like
You have Jack the
anyone.
Ripper as a better example. He's a criminal. I
Huh?
was saying you have Jack the Ripper as a
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
literally a criminal.
even if you go by the definition, Frankenstein would not fit at all, unless you're going with the Hollywood's Frankenstein's monster. Unless you're
Mhm.
going with the Hollywood scenario. If you're going with the novel scenario, no, especially not what happened at the end.
Mhm.
So let's see. So the reason I brought up Spartacus is because Tudy here made a post about it.
Mhm.
So shall I read it, Tudy?
Sure.
So this is Tudy's post. You guys can find it also. You can either find it on the SOS Brigade site on that post at the bottom, I think, or you can find it on the server if you scroll up a bit. Okay, let's see. Did I post it on the SOS Brigade site?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good.
Yes, you did.
Okay. So I'll read it. So by the way, cause I don't think anyone mentioned, there's also a manga which I remember regarding as a better adaptation than the anime. I also remember using the Spartacus versus Blade fight to demonstrate. Here's the manga chapters and the novel excerpt about how it went in the anime. You probably already know. So, his feet turned immaterial, his body covered by innumerable golems, his entire being save for his heart and brain pierced by stakes, and still Berserker moved to bring down the oppressor right before him. His actions could no longer be contained by words such as hatred or conviction. Yes, this was his fate. This was what Lancer sacrificed half of his golems to ascertain. Whether he was a foolish barbarian who sought only to rebel against authority, or a man who, in spite of his madness, had carved an uncrossable line, an unbreakable resolve onto his heart. Lance nodded in satisfaction and said quietly, I understand now that I have come face to face with you. Your rebellion is the embodiment of your noble spirit. The strong will always trample over the weak, but you fight because you are unable to accept that. You fight until you have turned the strong into the weak. He fought not for the sake of the weak. The mad warrior would not have come so far for such pretenses of altruism. No, it was simply that, quote, do you dream of a world where all are equal? Yet your dream is but a flight of fancy for the first time. I feel I must show my respect to those we call rebels.
Yeah, they made it very clear throughout the show that was what they were going for with Spartacus, in terms of like, I feel like they're almost doing a lot or poking fun at the fact that all these communists in Germany would end up calling themselves Spartacists and whatnot in some capacity. And he actually, in that way, has like more resemblance in ideology and the way he's acting to those people than probably the real Spartacus. Although we don't know much about the real Spartacus other than he fought and he won a lot of battles. One thing I am noticing about the manga chapter that he posted is, in terms of shot composition, the direction's a lot better. Admittedly, it's a manga; it's easier to do that. But they're really trying to play Spartacus up like he is this horror villain character. Like he is this absolutely horrible force of nature that's just incredibly bloody, going through hordes, some really monstrous looking carnage and whatnot. And I guess you could say the show was maybe trying to go for that. But however it tried to do it, all I can say is they didn't have that type of imagery, and they had him talk so much that he never came across as horrifying or as some incredible force of nature.
And it's short,
Instead,
like 2 minutes.
hmm?
It's very short in the show.
Yeah, instead he comes across like a completely what would be the term? He basically comes across like a jester almost, really. He does not come like he doesn't come across as completely serious at all.
Yeah,
I mean, and to be fair, like he's supposed to be a character that's completely out of his mind, but he's also supposed to be a character you take seriously because he has like incredible power or whatever. In the show, he just comes across as like a chip that gets thrown about between the sides, and he doesn't come across as an actually powerful dude. But anyways, we've been stuck talking a lot about the first half.
yeah. So basically, I think what Yuri was trying to show is that none of the servants had any respect for um, for Spartacus in the anime, but maybe in the novel.
Yeah, he had the worst. Like from all of them, he had the worst. He and Vlad.
Yeah, so I guess you wanted to talk about the ending. I was thinking of maybe like talking about all the servants, but do, do you say?
Well,
Yeah.
we can go through a few more servants. Vlad, let's talk about Vlad. Vlad, what they're trying to do theoretically is interesting. They're trying to say, okay, in Romania, he's being naturally summoned as a hero, so they're naturally trying to get that side of him. Unfortunately, and again, maybe they expand on this more in novel, anime. Novel, I don't know. But in the anime, he's just sort of like a standard aristocratic king, and there's literally nothing more to him. He doesn't have this brutality inside of him that you would expect from Vlad the Impaler. And I mean, there are so many stories of this guy. This guy was, in his own way, an evil motherfucker. I've seen like I have this book of mine, and I've given little passages from where he'll like he and of course all of these stories at the end of the day are semi-apocryphal. History is a little
Like
hard
fake.
to get at the time, but there's enough of them, there's enough of a quantity of them that I think it gives an idea of what he was really like. Some of which are like he'd go up and down the line of his soldiers. If they had wounds in their back, in their front, then he would congratulate them and reward them, often with lands. If they had wounds in their back, oh, impalement time for you. He set up this little thing where supposedly like he toured like a village and he thought the wife wasn't taking care of his her husband properly, so he impaled the wife, gave the husband a new wife, and instructed the new wife of what happened to the old wife. Shit like that. And he clearly, to some degree, enjoyed and reveled in that, and was noted for like often spending his time around his impaled enemies, which was how like the concept of Dracula and them like literally sucking the blood came about. And you don't have any of that sort of brutal side towards Vlad in this. Instead, he's just a standard aristocratic king, and his wish is to destroy the legend of Dracula. And that's very it. And it makes for a very flat character, I'd say, overall.
Yeah,
I mean, with what you described, he would seem like he would be a very interesting villain.
Yes, he would. Or you could even make him like a ludicrous anti-hero or something like that.
Yeah.
But
guess-
no matter, you're right. There's all sorts of things you could do with him. I feel similar about what they did with Achilles. They at least had him do like some things with Atlanta towards the end, where both with him and Chiron, where there was a very nice rivalry between him and Chiron towards the end, and there was also this one felt really out of the blue, but I guess it was a sort of nice touch where he basically dies trying to go after Atlanta because she's gone completely nuts as a monster, and sort of like Alucard towards Alexander Anderson, he feels like she shouldn't be like that. That she, as a hero, shouldn't make herself into a monster, and the show takes her down. That's all right, but it's not really accurate. They try and make him like a guy who's like, I'm a hero, and I'm just aspiring to be what a hero should be. In the actual Iliad, he's like constantly pushing to be a hero, but in terms of like become famous. His whole thing is he wants to fight in the most battles. He wants to have the most glorious way to win in the war, and he's constantly feuding with Agamemnon over this because he feels that Agamemnon's slighting him. He feels that Agamemnon oftentimes is just trying to take Troy via underhanded methods, and Achilles finds that absolutely beneath honor, and also 180 to what he's trying to accomplish for himself. He's trying to accomplish immortality for himself in terms of his memory. And none of that gets transferred over to the Fate character, which is odd, because it's like, this is the Iliad. This is a very well-known story.
yeah, he was bland.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, I kind of got the feeling that get the feeling that overall it seems that they're trying to make the characters seem more moral than what they're based on actually were, or something like that.
Yes. Oftentimes, yes. I'll also note, and this is something that bothered me, and this is something I've actually seen a lot with A1 Pictures, so this isn't like new to them, but it bothered me here. You have two characters facing off against one another, and like, they won't draw them in battle stances. They'll instead draw them in like completely standing straight up staring at one another. And some people might not be bothered by that, but for me, every time I saw that, it was just grating, and like, why are you doing this? It's just one more little thing that sort of takes me out of the whole show. And like, certainly haven't done that in other Fate incarnations, so it's just really, it's a weird choice. But that's something A1 Pictures does all over their stuff, so it's not like that's as unique to Apocrypha.
Yeah, overall, I would say though that the motives for the characters to get the Grail, like for example, Achilles, he just wanted to basically get a body, right? Get a, not disappear along with the Grail. I think.
Yeah, maybe. Well, which even then you could spin that off into something interesting because, well, I mean, because he would probably be going to Elysium, and Elysium's not a bad place at all, so that is a little weird. But
yeah, so
maybe
they had 3 Greek characters, but they didn't really do much. I guess they tried to make a connection between the three of them. Atlanta, Chiron, and Achilles, but
Mostly between Achilles and Chiron, they set up a made up thing where Chiron was Achilles' master, which I'm a little rusty on my Greek mythology, but I don't believe there are any stories where they make that, or where that's the case. But I mean, at the same time, that's like a totally understandable change to make, and I can totally see it happening.
Okay.
But
yeah,
it's
not that good. So, I guess when it comes to
he did train Achilles, and I'm just an idiot.
I see. So when it comes to Chiron, I don't know. He was just a good guy, sort of thing. But
he sort of gets more stuff to do as the show goes on, and this in general, I want to get back to this. In the first half of the show, it's sort of too stuffed with characters. They don't spend particular amounts of time on any one character, which tends to result in not a lot going on, a few fights, and there's not tons of investment going on. Once you get to the halfway point, like the Red faction is like taking the Grail, Darnik's fucking dead. And after that, they actually start to have some dedicated time to characters. I mean, first you have like the caster from Black, and you get to have his whole shtick where he wants to create like a perfect Earth, which it's sort of been like hinting towards, and they have to defeat that thing because he like literally summons Adam, who's going to like recreate the whole world into being Eden, but that means like destroying everything else in his path.
So it's the rumbling.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it also looked a bit like an Eva unit a bit to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say so. And then all of a sudden, and you actually have like a goal and like a reason for all these characters to team up together. Like you start to have that with Darnik when he like and Vlad when they turn into a vampire, and like all the servants set aside their differences and they come together.
Aren't they ordered from Jean to do that with command spells?
Technically Jean orders them, yes. Yeah, but I don't believe she technically uses a command spell. She just says, as like a servant, as a official adjudicator, I order you. But they still could have like said no. But they all choose to because like they acknowledge that they need to.
So basically, the command spell is like a power up or something.
Nah, she would have had to have used a command spell for like each servant if she was going to do so, and she didn't.
I see.
But anyways, the thing. Anyways, at that point, like the servants actually start working off of each other's powers and whatnot, which is like, gee, where was this before? Like the servants are literally working together as a team, and they actually have a goal to fight for.
It's like the Avengers.
Yeah, it's a little like that. Yeah, because you don't want the whole world to get vamped. And then he like dies in front of Amakusa Shiro, who then like reveals his evil plan to make the world good.
Yeah, so
I mean, speaking of Evangelion, isn't that kind of a bastardization of what Steel wants? They kind of want a sort of a human collective.
Yeah, at first it sounded like he wanted just instrumentality. Then towards the end they say, "Oh, we're literally just going to make people immortal." But the result of that is going to be like a humanity that essentially loses all taste for anything higher, and that will be damning humanity in a very large capacity.
To be honest, I'm not clear what the hell that actually means. Okay, so they're going to be immortal, but they can still have happiness and joy, but they can't do bad things, or something. Yeah.
Essentially, it's almost, you can almost view it as a commentary on modern times, where it said like they'll become like very small people, and they'll become like they won't be able to think of higher things. I could get back to it if you want and their exact lines, but that's definitely like the feel that they were going for.
I thought he wanted to give them like servant bodies so that they don't have needs anymore, hunger, etc. So they don't die. I thought that's what it was.
I think the fact that we all don't know exactly what he wants indicates that it's not very well explained.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, not at all. I guess we could talk a little bit about the protagonist, which seems to be hated, ignored. He kind of looks like the protagonist in Guilty Crown, if you've seen that.
Yeah, Sieg is a homunculus, which means that he has like no ties to fucking anything. He is just he's a pure blank slate. But however he's created, he decides that he wants to live from the start. He breaks out for that reason and manages to escape from the Black Masters. Siegfried, because of his desire to sacrifice for another of his own volition and not because others asked him to, decides to randomly rip out his own heart and give it to this Sig character in order to save him, which is like somewhat set up, but it's like as we talked about, like literally set up in a flashback just right before then. You then have Sig sort of drops out of the show for a little bit, but then as he comes back, Jean sets him up. She basically wants him to find a happiness of his own. She sets him up with this one random guy somewhere in Romania, and she has these visions that he's going to die at some point, that on the path that he's going. So Jean's trying to set him up.
By the way, the visions, they are part of a noble phantasm or something, right? It's not. It's one of her powers, right?
I'd imagine so, because of course she literally did have visions.
I see. Okay.
The actual person, Jeanne d'Arc, did have like visions, and that's what called her to into fighting for France.
Yeah. Another thing, given that she's a ruler, I think she also has the power to know the names and the details of all the other, because I don't think she ever needed to ask who anyone was, who the servants were, right?
That's quite possible.
But
I don't.
Yeah.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, but she didn't know that Asfolsa was a guy, though.
Yeah.
So sorry for interrupting you. Where were you earlier?
Yes, Sieg decide. Yeah, Jean tries to set him up because she doesn't want him to end up dying like she does in his visions. But Sieg ultimately, even as like a pure blank slate, he wants a purpose. He wants something to sacrifice towards. And so his first thing is to come back to the one tangential sort of connection he does have, which is to the other homunculi that are like him. And even though they willingly serve for Yigna Millennia and could never conceptualize leaving or not serving, unlike him, he still wants to sacrifice for them. He still wants to sort of save them, or at least either suffering in some capacity, because they're still human beings, and they're still just like him. So already he's got sort of like this noble streak in him. He ends up being able to turn into a servant because there's a servant's heart in him, which doesn't entirely make sense to me. Cause like Tootie, you've probably read Fate Stay Night. You remember
Yes.
Heaven's Feel, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah, like Shiro when he like this is spoilers for Heaven's Feel, but when Shiro gets like Archer's arm by because like he's mortally wounded and like that's the only way
I
to
also
save.
think that part is bullshit. But go on.
Yeah. Well, like he's not able to literally turn into Archer or something like that. It's literally just he's got an arm grafted onto him, and the arm is actually like slowly killing Shiro in its own way.
Yes. What about it?
Like, so why can a heart from Siegfried turn Sig into the serpent itself?
Yeah, different situation, different details. Like Sig is not like Shiro and Archer are the same person to begin with, and Sig is like you said, the blank state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
and
would
the heart is
explain.
like a magical core. Like it's not like the arm is not as important as the heart for a servant.
Maybe. I guess you could say that.
I'm making shit up. I don't know. It's bullshit to me, both of them.
Whatever. Somehow he can turn into the servant Siegfried for like very small segments, and like based off of like using command seals and whatever.
I was gonna say a very cliched explanation: the power of love.
No, it's not even fucking that. No, the power of love we're getting to later. That's later. But Siegfried like does all that, and so he's able to fight in that capacity. After he's done with that, and after some fights, as I was going over, once you have the halfway point, Red's in a strong position, most of Black is dead, and they're sort of having to regroup, and Mordred and her master have sort of become de facto allies. You get some time with Sieg to sit down where he does get to talk things through with Jean. They get to do the thing with Jack the Ripper, where Jack's like sets up an idea of like, is humanity really good or not? It's his first capacity. It's his first exposure to seeing humanity being like really fucking evil, or
But,
in some capacity.
I mean, he did see humanity like kill his homunculi friends, right? So
That's true. But I guess you could say it's. Yeah, I guess you could say it's easier to say that because, like, homunculi are literally created to be disposable. And this is like them literally doing it to regular humans, so depends on your view of things.
I mean, I would have thought from Sieg's view, given that he's an homunculi, and one of his primary goals was to save the homunculi, which I'm not sure he actually does by the end, because he didn't actually use the Grail to, make the homunculi live more than 3 years, right? I think.
Well, he wasn't trying to like change who they are or in any capacity. He was just basically trying to make them treated all right, essentially.
So they're all going to die in 3 years or so, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's the nature of a homunculus. Yeah, Like that's like a part of Fate lore with Irisfeel or Iliasfeel or whatever. They don't live that short lives, but like
Yeah.
in all of those, like all those
I see.
characters are actually limited in terms of how long they can live.
I see, because they don't really show or imply anything like that in the ending of Fate Apocrypha. It's like they lived happily ever after with the whatever the fuck they're called, people.
Yeah,
And
the Yig the Millennium Master of
So-
Black people.
yeah, exactly. That's what it looks like to me. So anyway, where were you earlier?
I want to
But
say one
yeah.
thing.
Uh,
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said about the humanity being good or bad, but I didn't think the theme was that it was about humanity being good or bad. Like I thought the theme was more along the line of there are no such thing as miracles that are free. Like the hero's plan was never going to be as convenient as he made it out to be.
That's true, and that's why he opposed Shiro from the start. And you also have like the whole Jack the Ripper arc, which is explicitly him being just shocked about Jack the Ripper's backstory. And that's another Jack the Ripper is like another character who's like almost a fetish character. You've got this lolly girl with her mama, quote unquote, who apparently Wiki tells me is like a former prostitute, and they'll like act all lovey-dovey as they like feast, as they
Yeah.
like kill after they kill people.
Yeah, basically the reason why she's a prostitute is because the actual master, the real master, which was supposed to, how do you say, bring.
Summon her was going to use her. Going to use this woman as a sacrifice, which I guess makes sense because if you're trying to summon Jack the Ripper, like Jack the Ripper killed prostitutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But in this case, like somehow she managed to make it so that sacrifice him instead.
Yeah, I think basically what happened was, yeah, I mean, what I know again, because like this is not explained in the rather in the anime itself, but from the videos about the law which I saw, is that that basically this guy summoned Jack the Ripper by using a knife or something, which Jack the Ripper used. So while he was stabbing the woman, Jack the Ripper was summoned, and but it's not the Jack the Ripper that we know of. And by the way, this is also not explained in the anime at all. I don't think was that she's actually the souls of aborted babies in the aborted babies of prostitutes in Jack the Ripper's London, so late 18th century.
Yeah. I got the feeling that it was like all the abandoned children completely. I didn't get the feeling that it was necessarily aborted children. I thought it was just like children that were like bastards and just had like nothing to live off of, and that all these children like ended up like killing a whole lot of people during those times out of like pure resentment, and that's the reason Jean chose to put them down. And that's the reason, and that's where they set up like an actually very nice rivalry between Atlante and her, because Atlante is this character that was like very much saved as a child, could have been killed, so she has this big belief that every child is innocent, every child should be saved, and so when Jean wants to kill these children that admittedly are full of resentment and have already sinned quite a great deal, and at this point aren't really capable of transcending their nature, Atlante goes absolutely apeshit, and it sets up this very nice rivalry between those two characters. And a lot of the old I will never forgive you. I will absolutely kill you. Those types of lines, which I always enjoy.
I personally didn't much like the Jack the Ripper arc that much. I don't know. It kind of felt like a lull in the action, at least.
It definitely
Yeah.
is, yes, but I thought it was well deserved by that point.
And it's
Um,
kind of, I would also say it's kind of funny that halfway in the first half and second half, they kind of forgot Jack the Ripper as a character for a bit, and they go, "Oh wait, Jack the Ripper's a character. Let's put it back."
Oh yeah, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back real smooth.
yeah, and about the rivalry, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess Atlanta was intending to use the. I mean, it was Atlanta killing the lolly first, right? Which um, made the souls of the children manifest in the first place. But anyway, I think she was intending to use. She wanted to use the Holy Grail to cure them or something. I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So I don't know. But at the same time, at the moment, it seemed like there wasn't any way out.
Mm-hmm.
Other than killing those
Yeah.
souls, essentially. But
Mhm.
what did you think of that rivalry, George?
To be honest, I didn't really. I don't think it was that good.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Can you say why?
Which one is it again?
Can you say
Jean and Atlante.
Yeah, George Anatol.
Yeah, I just felt that out of nowhere. Oh God, I'm going to kill John d'Arc because she killed Jack the Ripper. I hate her now. I just find that to be, I don't know.
Too sudden, I guess.
Yeah, too sudden.
For me, it perfectly works because this is something like that's ideologically and like as a person important to her. And so even if there's all these extenuating circumstances,
Is it one-sided
even
though?
if
Is it one-sided? I guess it just
yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely one-sided, yes, and it's definitely Atalante being, I guess you could say, maybe a little irrational, but it's totally understandable how she's coming from that perspective. Like that's just
I guess it just seemed a little bit general. Like I care about children in general. It's not like because Jen hurt somebody like who is actually dear to me, but like I just care about all the children. Yeah.
yes, and from her perspective, it's very personal. From her perspective, she was also another abandoned child, and even if the circumstances are different, John doing that to these children, from her perspective, is John being willing to do that to herself. And so she takes that very, very personally.
I guess so. I guess I could. One of the reasons I couldn't take Jack the Ripper's character again is because it was a lolly.
Yeah.
Nick the Stripper.
No, I agree. And they're just doing like the whole thing of like, oh, the lolly that just like doesn't that just enjoys killing and doesn't, and it's completely innocent in a way and doesn't see anything wrong with what it's doing. I don't feel like I've seen that before. Hell, they do that with Alien Fate Stay Night. I don't feel like this was as well done as I've seen it done before, and even then, it's not my favorite trope in the world.
Okay, so I think that's probably enough about Jet. Let's see who else is there. I guess
There's Mordred, and I really, really like what they actually did with her, even if she was mostly in the background. Well, not entirely in the background, a lot of it.
yeah, I think
What they do.
I think
go ahead.
basically her and Sissiko or whatever his name is should have been her master should have been the main characters in my opinion. Anyway, same
Oh,
universe.
Absolutely. I think you could have like put a story that was completely around them. I don't know, resisting the red side or shit like that. They were or being like against both sides. That would have been like really neat in terms of like setting up protagonists or anything. But anyways, what they do with them, Kyrie has his own reasons for wanting the Grail, just in terms of that he's not able to pass on an heir, like literally passing on his magic crest is passing on poison and will kill someone. And so he really wants to overcome that. Mordred, of course, she wants to have a chance at Sword in the Stone to prove that she truly was worthy as a king, because Saber Arthur denied that to her. And that's part of the reason that she ended up rebelling. And they sort of end the move, and by the time they end it, they get to a point where Mordred has this really all holds barred battle with Semiramis, and like Mordred is poisoned, and it's like fucking disgusting and awful, and you like go, oh my gosh, how is she still alive after that shit? Most overpowered assassin ever.
Yeah.
And then she goes and with like one stroke manages to, and Kyrie's own like ballsiness and like a really nice scene, manages to defeat her. Which, by the way, I haven't been talking about this, but the animation in the last couple episodes or so becomes very energetic. It becomes very frenetic, and a lot of the action scenes, like early on, just in terms of the way they were drawn, animated, was like they were fine. They were standard. They weren't that interesting. The action towards the end of the show becomes very frenetic and interesting, and it's actually really using the medium in a really nice light. Oftentimes, the sacrifice is at times the drawings actually look kind of muddy and kind of almost like a children's scribble at some points. So it's not entirely with what you'd want, but it was a sacrifice I was somewhat willing to put up with, because I thought the amount of energy
I think
get out of it was really neat.
I think probably the best, and probably what we were thinking about, was the battle between quote unquote Sieg, so Siegfried, and
Karna.
And I don't know, it kind of felt a little bit like they were like in a wind tunnel or something, a little bit. And
yes.
Yeah. And another problem was the way that the battle ended, with basically Achilles literally giving Aspholso plot armor to go and save and give it to.
Well,
Sieg.
I would say not only Astolfo, but the fact that Frankenstein kind of gave Sieg plot armor as well.
Yeah. I mean, and it also kind of made the character of Sieg feel like, oh, this is just like he's like a fucking a blank slate, where like his motivations are like from or like will or whatever, and morality is basically the same as mostly the same as Jan's. His powers are those of Siegfried, and the reason, and then also those of Frankenstein.
Yeah,
well.
I can appreciate that they were trying to do something interesting with Sieg's character, but I'd agree that they could have focused on him more, or done a little bit more to make him interesting. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it does get better. So another thing which you mentioned was the most overpowered assassin. I kind of feel like I don't know. It's more here, but maybe in the other Fate series as well. But mostly here, it kind of felt like the class, quote unquote, class differences
Or thrown out the window.
Yeah, they didn't really mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this has always been a thing in Fate. Like Archer in Fate Stay Night is barely an Archer. Like that's, but he's still capable. But the thing is, like Archer in Fate Stay Night may barely be an Archer, but he's still capable of being an Archer. With Semiramis, the idea is like, well, she has poison, and poison is her thing, so that makes her an assassin. But she randomly also has all these powers because, basically, just under the theory of like ancient and empress, therefore she has all these powers.
So basically, she's also like a caster as well, almost like. So basically, Shakespeare is kind of fucking useless. So, when it comes to magic, so it seems more like she's playing that role as well.
Essentially,
yeah. And from what I understand, she would be a lot weaker if she wasn't in the giant fortress.
That's possible. It might be that she's just dependent upon staying inside.
But the problem is that we never see her having to fight without the fortress. So it doesn't really matter. It's not explored, and apparently, like, so basically, both Danik and Shiro, Kotomine, whatever you want to call him, needed a long time to prepare. For example, I think it took it apparently must have taken 3 days to prepare the
So the thing that happened in Fate Zero was a giant gas explosion.
So we are connected again. I don't know what was lost, but never mind. So they don't say that the fortress is invisible to normal humans. And then there's also the massive battle between Karna and Sieg. Maybe that battle was like somewhere like where there was nobody, so nobody noticed. But still, the giant fucking fortress. I guess Shiro Kotomine doesn't care, and so maybe there's that. But like, it would be nice if we would have seen like what the reaction of like ordinary people seeing that. But like they still pretend like it's a secret. Like they have to empty the entire airport to get the planes.
Maybe it's like, maybe it fucks off and flies very low to the ground someplace else. Maybe it goes far, far into the clouds and uses very long-range mental suggestion to deal with.
To be fair, though, even Fate Zero had that problem where it's just, even though it's secrecy, there's a lot of things that...
To be fair, the kind of the kind of sort of excuse that by saying, or like a massive fire took place here, and so
they always come up with some sort of bullshit rationalization as like, well, it was a training accident, whatever. And I mean, a lot of people are willing to put up with, hey, it's just a training accident if that's the official story. And you've got the church working things behind the scenes to smooth things over.
So Heraclius, you know that it's kind of a joke between me and Stout Agent, that scene where, what was his name? I think Kirigitsu or something in Fate Zero, when he's able to shoot down an airliner with a rocket launcher in his hand, but while being on a small boat. So you have something odd with airliners here as well, like like,
I guess.
Like, okay, I guess they're servants, so the wind doesn't affect them or something, because the scene where like they're all standing on top of their airliners going at, I don't know, 300.
Oh yeah. Going 500 miles an hour or something. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess they do just sort of cling on to it without too much issue, and there's not tons of wind going or anything like that. Yeah, there was not as much attention to detail in this anime. In case you hadn't noticed. But anyways, we've gotten completely off the topic of Mordred.
I mean,
What they do that's interesting with her is she basically gives up her traitorous nature. She realizes during the midst of her battle that sort of her whole reason for being was she basically just wanted to support Arthur and to support the kingdom generally, and that it had led her down a very twisted path. And she realizes this because Semiramis is trying to tempt her by like, hey, just join me and screw your master, and I can help you get to the Grail. And from a logical perspective, it's actually quite tempting. And Mordred actually has like a sit-down scene with Sieg where she like has a like very negative view overall on humans and basically thinks that they're foolish and they'll just betray one another and in order to get ahead. But at the same time, it's obvious that she still has this idealism inside her. And they have this scene where she ultimately she takes down Semiramis, and she has plenty of time to make another contract with another servant and save herself from dying, as her current master is laying there dying, having participated in the battle to save his servant. But she decides no, because she's realized who she was. She realized she doesn't have a need for the Grail after all. And she's also as partially a way to redeem her own actions in the past, she decides that she's going to stick by her master. She's going to demonstrate loyalty. Even if, like, it's a completely... At this point, it would make sense to swap to another master, and he wouldn't mind. She's going to demonstrate loyalty, even if that's will, of course, lead to her death, inevitably. And I thought that was a rather touching scene and a rather touching idea that they had going there.
yeah, I think they basically did everything that was to be done with that character. Like earlier, I said that maybe it would have been more fun if she was the main, if she and Sissiko were the main characters. But beyond what they did in a character, I guess they could have clarified it and padded it a little bit. Like, yeah, it would have been weird if there was some romance, though. So maybe not that way. But
yeah, that wouldn't make sense to me.
Nah.
Kiri is more like, I wouldn't say a
Father figure.
daughter relationship, but more of a like sibling or best friend.
No, I would say that in the story, like his whole thing is about him trying to get over like the death of his son, as it's revealed later on. So Mordred is very much serving as like a surrogate daughter in that capacity.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
I don't know. It seemed more like they were buddies or something rather than. I guess.
Wasn't his story that he had a daughter that died and he wants a real child?
Yeah.
The daughter that was adopted, right?
Yeah, adopted daughter, and the reason why the daughter died is because I believe his magic essence is literally toxic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
literally
he was cursed, right? His bloodline.
Yeah, his bloodline was cursed in some capacity. When he tried to pass on his magic crest, like it literally sent poison and the person died.
Let's see. Also, we didn't really. I don't think they really kind of explained how Arthur, given that she's a woman, actually was Mordred's father somehow. They didn't really explain that, and they also didn't explain exactly why Arthur kind of was called to. I guess they kind of did because Arthur was the king or something, so he had to be called towards Mordred, maybe. But I don't know. Do you think that the relationship between Arthur and or rather Arturia and Mordred was adequately explained? Like, yeah. I just
No, because I think you're supposed to know that part.
Which part?
That Mordred, Arturia, you know.
I see.
Wait, I'm distracted.
Yeah. Okay. So but at the same time, didn't it feel like Sissiko and Mordred were kind of like narratively speaking separated from the rest of the story and the characters?
In a lot of ways, yes. Yeah, I'd say so.
So it was it was a good story, their story, but it just I don't know. I guess it was kind of like Gil's story in the in Fate Zero, I think, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like it particularly had anything to do with the larger conflict. It didn't need to be specifically in this conflict.
Yes, that's definitely correct. Yes.
So who else is there? I guess Siegfried. There's not much to say because he's one of the characters which died first. Because as you said, at first in the beginning there were just too many characters for any character to get enough screen time. So things got better, I guess, because as the characters died, that meant that there was enough screen time for the characters which were left.
Wait a second, because I want to go back. I wonder, is it canon that Merlin gave Arturia a D to conceive Mordred canon, or is it just a joke meme?
I think it's
no. It is literally canon.
Yeah.
that you had Fuda author with with Morgan.
Now you know.
It is literally canon.
Yeah, that might be one of the reasons why Arthur didn't like Mordred. I imagine that was basically what I was implying. That nobody got it. Now we know. So okay. Who else is there? So Siegfried is kind of boring because I don't know. I think from the reviews which I saw, like some people didn't get that. I don't know. It seemed pretty obvious to me that Siegfried just wanted to be able to sacrifice himself by his own choice, rather than mindlessly following orders. But then it means just because somebody asked it of him. But some people criticized his character by saying that, look, he's like in his previous life he was mindlessly sacrificing himself for others, and now look, he just ends up mindlessly sacrificing himself again. But that maybe is missing the point a little bit. Let's see. We talked about Achilles. Aspholso. Did we talk about him? No, I don't think we did. So, I guess I was intending to use Aspholso as the thumbnail of this video, but I decided not to for various reasons. But one of them was that apparently Aspholso is not he's not only in this series; he's also in another Fate series. Is that correct?
I don't think so. Which series?
So Aspholso is just in Apocrypha. He's just an Apocrypha character.
He's also in Fate Grand Order, but I don't see that as a series.
Well, yeah, that doesn't count because everyone's in Fate Grand Order. That's just that's a.
I see. So
that's just a gotcha game.
Yeah, for some reason, a lot of Fate.
Is that in Extella too? Fate Extella?
Yeah, Fate. Huh?
Fate Extella, he might be in there too, but I'm not sure.
Who are we talking about? Astolfo? No, not unless we're talking like the Fate Extella game things. But in like any of the Fate Extra old games, no. Those Fate Extella like Dynasty Warriors types games, yeah, because they have like all sorts of characters, so he's probably in there somewhat. Yeah, they're trying to do an interesting thing, like I said, with Astolfo, where he's trying to be like the moral, virtuous side of the Black of the black side that always sees good in people, but at the same time is like fetish character as a part of that, and it's just sort of like randomly a part of himself that's like never really commented upon. It's just literally who he is and how he dresses. And I know the trannies would say, "Oh, that's just how we are.
No,
It's just who we
yeah,
dress."
we
But
don't use
no,
that.
it's not.
Yeah, we don't use that term on YouTube because you know why.
Oh, okay. Well, too.
Yeah, too late
You
now.
just call them transmissions.
Okay. But yeah, it's just a joke. It's not actually whatever a train or whatever. So yeah, that doesn't really matter. I guess it made the character popular, but
At this rate, YouTube's going to be banning the word Jap.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So, I mean, but I guess maybe it didn't fit into like it wasn't explained, but did it actually detract from the character? I guess it did.
I felt it did. I
Mm.
mean, others might feel differently, but
I see. So, I mean, but at the same time, even if we ignore his cross-dressing tendencies, I mean, isn't he just like a good guy? Like he just won't. Again, his motive, like Achilles, again, it's just oh, I just want the Grail so that I won't die and I can continue my adventures.
yeah. But but he's also like I like a lot of the scenes where he actually does stick up for Sieg. He sees it like almost. I think it's kind of poignant that like he knows immediately that this guy is on the run from like the rest of his masters, and he just goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna say
yeah, but like he doesn't.
bring my whole side, but yeah, this is the right
Yeah,
thing to do. I'll do it anyways."
I don't know. I mean, because I don't know. I mean, he doesn't even care that, like, this is going to make it less likely that my side or I am going to get the Grail. I don't know. I guess I kind of found it like so basically back in Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero, but especially Fate Stay Night, I kind of felt like the masters and the servants were both more desperate for the Grail than here. And I mean, if you don't care about the Grail, then you're just there. Which I guess kind of worked when it came. Because we have already seen like a selfless good character like this in the form of I think the main character in Fate's Unite was Shiro, right? But like it's not the same here. Like Shiro had to like he had to suffer a bit for his plot armor. Let's say put it that way. And to try to end the conflict by getting the Holy Grail. Whereas here, it seems more like asphalt. So it's like passively, or there's a homunculi dying everywhere, but I'm going to save this random one because reasons.
I guess another way to describe Stelfo is basically Sig's a cheerleader.
Yeah, exactly. Because when it comes to Shiro, I kind of feel like he would try to save anyone and he would try to save everyone rather than like just this random person essentially. And I don't know. Didn't really leave Asphalt, so didn't really leave like a big impact on me. So who else is there?
We've talked a little about Jean. Jean is basically like a really appealing style character where she's constantly the one looking out for Sig. She has sort of like this motherly way of looking out for him. She basically is like the prototypical, in a way, mom HTF. She is the one that. Yeah, she's constantly trying to counsel him, constantly telling him like, "Hey, this is dangerous, don't do this or that or whatever. Um, yeah, just overall a kind of nice character in that capacity. And she's also the type of person who's like shown throughout to very much just embraces her role, embraces as you would expect of a saint who was like burnt at the stake. She doesn't really bear grudges or ill will or anything like that. She just sort of commonly accepts her fate. Although, of course, she doesn't like it when other people would potentially do the same to her. When other people would do the same to those that are not her. Excuse me. But yeah. Overall, she's a fine enough character. I didn't find her like. I found her appealing and likable, but I didn't find her like truly fascinating or anything like that.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, what is it, George?
Well, I was just also going to point out, John is basically the prototypical, I would call it, the feminine badass.
Very much so, and it's actually to be commended that she is very much more on the feminine side with regards to that.
I think the biggest problem that I had with Jan's character was the romance.
Did they clarify if it was Jan or the human that liked Sig?
It was Jen.
Yeah, it was Jan.
They specifically go over that it was Jean herself, and Jean herself was quite a bit in denial about it. And for me, that was fine enough. It made sense based off of the fact that Jean, this guy was like naturally fighting for people, putting himself in harm's way over and over again, despite her best wishes, despite everything she did to like stop him from following her path. He follows her path anyway, and sort of is like leading towards a future very similar to her own. So it's very easy to see how that could both be frustrating to her, but also enamoring to her, and naturally make her have a lot of affection for that character. So, and you definitely see her like get attracted to him all throughout the show. So I thought that was fine.
I think
nicely enough done.
I don't know. I guess I kind of feel like, for example, the romance in say Fate's Day Night was done much better.
Sure.
With a lot more build up.
Well, I would say the main issue with that is, sure, Sig and John does have screen time together, but I felt like, well, it could have been rectified with additional episodes where they spend a bit more time together. Because I find that in the first half they sort of introduce each other, but John's just like, okay, live your own life. In the second half, they do kind of fight amongst each other, but not enough to say, oh.
They literally have a date episode with each other. As part of the excuse of luring out Jack the Ripper. It is literally just a date episode.
Yeah. I guess better than Shiro going.
Beach episode.
Yeah, sorry.
Better than beach episode.
No, sorry. I was going to say better than Shiro going out with Rin and Saber and basically yeah, with both and basically leaving Saber to like fucking eat sandwiches or something. Yeah. Anyway, so basically be the third wheel. Well, I guess the third wheel would kind of be a stall for, but yeah, whatever.
I don't really see them as romantic. I would just see them as best friend.
Yeah, I know, but I guess to tease Jan essentially. Anyway, I was looking at the recording channel and Tudy posted something interesting. and weird. What's this about a haunted Astolfo bean plushie?
You didn't see it so far? The meme. It was very popular, I think. I think it was.
So what's the meme? Explain it to me.
It's literally just this.
Oh, those little fucking awful plushies.
So why are they funny?
Because they're cursed.
They are
Yeah, because
absolutely
he's
good.
what the fuck is that?
I see, because
He's haunted.
I see
I don't know.
they're ugly, so that's funny. I see.
Blessed Astolfo plushie that pats your head and affirms your sexuality. Or
I know, but I saw it a lot. It was popular.
Haunted Astolfo plushie that sucks your dick and calls you gay.
I see. So it's the whole trap thing. Okay, so if you like Astolfo, that means you are gay. Okay, I see.
No, it's literally just the trap memes and all the tomboy versus trap memes.
I see. Okay. Okay. So I guess when it comes to Jan, there's also like the other thing that was I guess as I think George said this basically that they didn't feel like there was ever a conflict or anything that much between Jan and Sieg for them to overcome or anything. Yeah, so maybe that's why I didn't find it as interesting, because, for example, in Fate's Day Night, like Artoria or Saber and Shiro had an actual disagreement, you know. Whereas here, I guess it's more in Jan's own head, like do I like him or don't I like him? Okay, a little bit, yeah.
You're right. It's mostly in his own head.
So okay,
Her own head. Excuse me.
I didn't. So let's see. I think we basically talked about all the characters, right? That all the let's see, Solomon. So Abisabaron. His golems were useless.
Yeah, so that was one of the other issues I had was they do something with him, like as we went over, where once he joins the Red faction, and he has this thing where he does want to create an Eden, and he's like hiding his face until then. He sort of reminded me of Iron Mask in F91, if you remember, student.
Yeah, it does look like that. Yeah, it does look like that. Yeah, and he talks like that as well, right? He just like
sort of, yeah. I too am a human being. If I weren't wearing this mask, I might have beaten you to death just right now.
Like I guess the biggest deal with him would be like his betrayal of his master. But I don't know, like maybe there wasn't enough build up to it. I didn't really feel anything for that little kid. He seemed he seemed to be like
irrelevant.
No, he just seemed to be like a standard innocent kid, and then he's just like killed. And you're supposed to care off of the fact that he's a standard innocent kid, but honestly, I kind of forgot that he was in the show, so it was like,
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I kind of find it funny that like so that the wiki has got articles for all the mages that all the masters on Shiro's side. Can't remember whether it's black or red or whatever.
Red.
Red.
Yeah, all
the masters that just do nothing. Like
yeah, that was like almost I could tell that's like an special allowance they like in the middle of writing where they went, oh shit, we don't have time to characterize everyone. Quick, throw the masters in the basement. Throw them in the basement. Stop thinking about it.
Yeah. So with that, I think we have talked about all the. Probably, I guess that there's the masters on Danik's side, which would be black, right? And So that's the thing with the two siblings, which I don't know. I kind of feel like it came out of nowhere that the girl in the wheelchair, she had empathy and couldn't kill people.
I don't think it was out of nowhere. The character does feel like it's kind of the nice girl where it's just
Yeah, but Totsukarin was also nice and all that, but she was able to be like a mage. She didn't have a problem being a mage, so I don't see why this woman couldn't have been a mage either. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just basically a thing of, well, this girl is a lot weaker than Ren in terms of like what she's willing to do. She's like she, not that she's entirely weak-willed or anything like that, but she doesn't have a lot of fortitude, and she's not super willing to go through with like even going after an enemy, and they sort of rather, I think, too ham-handedly try and show that, where she literally has to announce her intentions to Kyrie once she starts fighting him. So yeah, there's
What about her motivation of like I just want to get the grail so I can walk again thing?
I'm sorry, that's terrible motivation for entering a Grail War. I'm sorry! Like, this is like an insanely dangerous war where you're probably going to die. Like, 75% or more of people who enter a Grail War die. If you're going to enter a Grail War, then you should be entering it because you have, like, something that's like your life's purpose. You have to sacrifice for this.
Yeah,
I feel like I'd kind of like to walk a little bit more. It's like,
I mean,
as if there's not magic to help with that.
All the people on Danik's side really just felt like, okay, I'm just Danik's underling, so that's why I want I'm going for the Grail for the most part. That kind of felt like only Danik on that side seemed to be actually desperate to get the Grail anyhow.
Yes, which was another like weakness, I'd say, of the show, because like, yeah, you literally only have one character that gives a crap about all this, so naturally we're only going to care about him. But even he doesn't have much going on, and he just wants to reach the root like everyone else, and he doesn't. You'd think he'd be very idiosyncratic. I am so disappointed in that character, Donick. Like, I've known of this show and this franchise for like a long time. I thought that Donick would actually have, once you got through it all, something to him. And there really wasn't. And I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be like a bit like Kotomine or whatever. Like okay, like at the very end, like he's going to like be the final boss or something. But
well, not maybe, but or just something like that he would have all the that he'd be like a first-rate manipulator or something like that, and he doesn't even get to do that. Even though he's like that in the backstory.
Yeah, he's more useless than Arin's father, essentially.
Oh, yeah. Which is fucking impressive.
So, yeah. Sorry, Tudy, what were you going to say, Tudy? We interrupted you. Or rather, I interrupted you.
Let me think. I was going to ask if that was her main motivation, or was the healing more of a side prize?
The wiki tells me that Fiore's motivation is to use the Holy Grail to heal her legs, but in a way that allows her to keep her magic circuits and keep the full function of her legs.
Yeah,
she
but
feels
like he'd still reach the root, right? And with the mana that remains,
with Donick? With Donick?
Yes, like she's used the grail to reach the root, and the mana that's left, she can use to heal herself. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing was like they were going to fight amongst themselves for the Grail after like they won. Uh, I
Ah, yes.
I guess you could say maybe some of the Yigna Millennia guys were just like looking for status or whatever, or looking for a faction to join. Which I mean, that'd be fine enough. That's good enough motivation if you show it.
Yeah, I don't feel like there was any motivation for like backstabbing that much. Everybody seems to be like falling their ranks.
They seem to be on the same page and not trying to backstab, but at the same time they don't seem to coordinate with one another at all, and they seem to be mostly off doing their own things. It's very odd. It feels like a very slipshot run organization.
And as for, I kind of feel like halfway, basically, it becomes more about stopping Shiro Kotomina's plan.
Yes, and that's when the show actually starts to become semi-good.
I don't know, because I mean, I guess because it becomes more about that rather than actually getting the Grail.
Yes.
Before the anime, the consensus was that is the first half that is the better one.
Really?
Yes, because Mordred and her master and Vlad as a villain is far better than Sieg, which is very much hated, and Shiro as a villain.
Yeah, I would say the second half is where it kind of goes downhill.
For me, I preferred it. I'd prefer Sieg to what they did with Vlad. I thought Vlad was completely boring. I'd actually say Sieg had more going on than Vlad in this.
Yeah, but I guess in the first half there was the illusion that the main characters were going to be Sissiko and Mordred, and people liked those. But then Sieg showed up towards.
But not.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, at least things are happening. Like in the second half, you have characters having to make struggles through different things. You don't have that in the first half. In the first half, it is basically just one random string of engagements to the next, almost, and you don't really get the first scene where a character actually gets to like do something that's sort of involved with themselves is like episode 9 or something, and it's where Frankenstein gets tortured by Shakespeare, and that's like the first time I remember something interesting happened in that whole show.
I mean, isn't it supposed to be like? I mean, that was pretty early on, and also wasn't it supposed to be like a large battle? So that's why you only see fragments of like different characters having fighting different fronts. You could say in different places on the battlefield or something. Or am I misremembering things now?
I mean, it doesn't really feel like that. Like, this really does, like, the show itself does feel like random skirmishes. Like, instead of multiple battles on multiple fronts, it's just like, oh, there was a skirmish here. You know, there was a skirmish there. Oh, we lost Spartacus, we lost Siegfried. Meh, you know, just a skirmish there. You know,
whatever.
It didn't really. Yeah, whatever. Like, it didn't really feel like this epic battle.
No, it didn't feel like a war. In fact, the other one, despite this being like a literal war between sides, like all the other fates, like Stay Night and Zero, feel a lot more like actual wars in a way.
I mean,
like people actually
Fate Zero
when things go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, in Fate Zero, it did actually feel like a war, because we got to see some of the individual masters, we got to see them, you know, Machiavelling and plotting in the background and going, waha, you know, or, you know, masters encountering traps that the other masters left. Like, that felt more like a war than this. Like, this feels like a bunch of fucking around in the Eastern Europe, and a bunch of fucking around in the Balkans, really. This is what it feels like.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mixed with a bunch of jump to Sark moments that
So,
really declined the show's quality.
Biogardam, did you also think that it got better towards the end. That the finale was better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the show has like good elements. I mean, they've got Vlad the fucking Impaler, dude. Like this show could have been great. It could have just been like first half just could have been him like just impaling people and killing everyone. You know, just being a badass.
Yeah.
Or,
I mean, I would want more than that, but frankly, that would have been an improvement.
Vlad the Impaler versus Chud.
Did Vlad even kill anyone?
No,
don't think so.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, that's the most disappointing part. This is a guy that was so he's a hero in modern day, but this is a guy who was people were so terrified of him. I think there's a story, and it's kind of apocryphal, but he left a golden cup in the middle of like this town square, and either out of fear or respect, no one stole the cup. All right,
yes.
It's an apocryphal story, but I mean, this is how.
Yeah, there's another story across a similar nature where a traveling merchant wanted to keep the gold in their in the state stores, and Vlad told him no, the public square will be fine. And then when his gold got stolen, he like threatened the whole city that he would like burn it down or stuff like that if they did not tell on who the thief was. So he found out who the thief was pretty quick. He presented the gold back to the traveling merchant, asked the merchant to count it. The merchant counted up the gold and said, "Oh, it is wonderful, your majesty, except there is one extra gold bar in here." And then Vlad said, "Go now in peace, for if you had not truthfully disclosed that there was an extra gold bar, I would have impaled you next to this thief." It's like, dang, that's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah, and like we don't really get that. Like I get with Fate Stay Night, like not all the characters are like accurate to what their personality was, but you know, this is Vlad the Impaler for fuck's sakes. I mean,
I feel like
have him kill someone.
Yeah. I feel like even with Fate Stay Night, most of the characters are pretty valid to a interpretation of them. That's
I mean, I think like Ryder, I think Ryder and Fate Zero is actually, I wouldn't say it's like super accurate, but like I think it captures the spirit of what Alexander the Great might have been like.
Yes.
Lancer from Fate Stay Night as well.
Yes.
He's Cuchulainn. Like he definitely gives off that like brave, fearless, carefree, cautious of the wind that Celtic warriors are famous for. Like you can see that's just like like it's an interpretation. Like it's an interpretation of the of a person that existed. But it's pretty it's mostly right. It's like you can see this. But with Vlad the Impaler, it's just like, where's the ruthlessness? Where's the I'm going to impale you?
Yeah, it felt like they were trying to go like so far in the opposite direction, where they wanted to acknowledge the fact that yes, he wasn't all evil, but as a result, they left behind in their wake a flat character that's literally just aristocrat king and has nothing else to him.
Yeah, and that's kind of like an insult to Vlad Tepes himself. I mean, he was kind of a ruthless, tyrannical guy, but there's admirable qualities about him. I mean, this is a guy who fought against the Ottoman Empire and actually won, like, heavily outnumbered. Yes. Like, this is a guy who, with the small amount of forces he had, he was able to terrify, at this point was an incredibly, the Ottoman Empire was like a world player on the European stage. I mean, they loomed large as far as, like, the Europeans were concerned. I mean, this guy does have, whatever you can say about him as a person, this guy does have, like, admirable qualities about him.
Like, imagine if they had a scene where where after the battle, like, Vlad goes around and he compliments all the servants and all the homunculi on how virtuously they fought, how bravely they fought, But then he gets around to this one homunculus who, for whatever reason, fled from the battle, disgraced his duties, and he just impales that fucker on the spot. How great a character building moment would that be?
I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another, I would say, also Spartacus' portrayal in Fate Apocrypha was also insulting.
Yeah,
Very fucking insulting.
I agree. Like,
Yeah,
you
because
can
here's
make
the thing. The real Spartacus, from what I've read and heard, like he was not a mindless brute.
no.
he
He
was
was
more-
like a hero that rebelled against. He eventually started out as sort of a gladiator for entertainment, but then became kind of a war hero and a rebel.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, we
but-
don't know tons about him, but yeah, it is almost like it's trying to base itself more off of the Spartacist legacy that communists took rather than the actual Spartacus.
I don't know. I don't know if they were thinking about communists. I think they were basically trying to make Spartacus fit into the berserker.
Berserker class,
Yeah.
yes.
So I guess that was the problem. They couldn't make him smart if it was a berserker.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess it worked in Fate Stay Night somehow, even though it was a brute.
Yeah, but even in Fate Stay Night, like the berserkers in both those shows, they had, like in Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night, like they did have moments of lucidity and shit.
Yeah, with Heracles in Fate Stay Night, it's like he gets. There's like a relationship between him and Ilya, and he has sort of like a tender side towards her, which is not always covered in every group, but it's there. And then in Fate Zero,
Doable.
and in Fate Zero, it's arguably better because you have Lancelot, and he just has this like rivalry with Arthur, and so when Arthur's before him, he just like all the pent up anger at her, but regret at her and towards her, and guilt towards himself, just like explodes, and he goes and he just goes nuts at her. Really great.
Yeah, I mean,
stuff.
that was the great thing about like the Fate Zero one is that like it's so tragic. Like this once gallant warrior is now turned this beraved like this raging psychopath. Like it's just so tragic.
But
yeah, it's perfect.
Whereas here it's more, I don't know, it felt more like
It's autistic screaming in the Balkan forest. It's not that engaging.
Yes.
So how about Achilles? Did you feel like he was portrayed properly by Gundam?
Yeah. I think they got the arrogance down pretty well for Achilles.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
mean,
like, if you read the Odyssey and shit, and a little bit about like the Greek warrior culture at the time, yeah, he is like he has that fucking arrogance down because Achilles was kind of an arrogant dude.
mhm. Definitely. Again, maybe I'm asking for too much, but I felt like he could have been a little better portrayed. I wanted him more to be like, as I've said a lot already. I wanted him to be like have this lust for glory the way Achilles did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, same. Speaking of lust for glory, I kind of felt like Vlad's motive, wanted to just cancel the rumor about him being a monster. Like, would he?
Yeah.
Would he really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So all of a sudden, I'm reading through Achilles' wiki entry. Quote: Achilles has a very close relationship with Atlanta and calls her Nason. Due to him and Archer being from the same lands, and Assassin believes that the Assassin of Black believes that Achilles will no doubt make advances on Atlanta. It's like, well, where the hell was that until like the very last battle between the two? Bloody
Oh, well.
nowhere.
No.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't anywhere to be seen. And yeah, Vlad's motives seem a bit too small for me.
Yeah, it's literally, I don't like Dracula. I don't like the idea of Dracula. It's like, okay. I mean, I can sort of get behind that, In terms of like, if you had the idea of like he had no regrets for his life, etc. Although, to be frank, if I were him, my main goal would be like, I would want the Ottomans to be fucking turned back. Like that would matter a hell of a lot more to me. But
I mean, in the context of Fate, vampires are actually real.
Yes.
well, yes, but also in the context of Fate, Vlad was never a real vampire. Like that was just a story that was created afterwards.
Okay.
Well, I was also going to say one thing aside. The thing that I found funny about Atlanta is the fact that he looks and is voiced by the same voice actor as Kamina.
For Kamina from Garen Lagann.
Yes.
Oh god.
I could tell when Atlanta was all yelling. It's just like, oh shit, is this Kamina?
Oh, cursed. Speaking of Atlanta, did you feel, Bhagan, did you feel like the rivalry between Atlanta, or I don't know if it's even a rivalry, more like I guess Atlanta's hatred for Jan.
I mean Achilles.
Oh, sorry, you meant Achilles. Yeah.
Achilles.
Oh, I see.
I don't really think it was really great, and I don't think it really played on the mythology because I think because I think her story's like way earlier than fucking his, and he's like in the Troy era, which is like I think early Bronze Age, late Bronze Age. Like I think the eras of Greece they lived in, it was kind of different. I don't really think there's much of a rivalry.
Sorry, I was talking about Jan and Atlanta because because
Atlanta goes apeshit and says she wants to kill her at the end. That.
Remember that.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. Like, even when I was watching the show, I didn't really get that. It's kind of like.
Yeah, I've already gone through it, but basically it's from the perspective of like Atlanta herself was an abandoned child. She thinks abandoned children should always be cared for. And Jack the Ripper is sort of like this weird amalgamation of abandoned children that apparently went murdering through. And so when Jean decides to kill them in that sort of little hallucination thing, Atlanta goes apeshit because from her perspective, Jean is like killing an outcast child that's no different than herself. And she believes that John is like undoubtedly evil for doing such a thing. Like the category of outcast children is always innocent and always good, no matter their actions from her perspective.
I think she wanted Jan to save them. Like, not that they were...
Okay, I get that, but it's just like, I'm watching this, I'm like, man, what's the investment? I'm so bored at this point.
Fair.
So...
Like, who cares if the serial killer lolly dies? I don't.
Exactly that. What about the romance between Sieg and Jen, whatever? Did you feel like that was too rushed, or did you feel like it was done well? Or...
I think it was a bit too rushed, but I still thought like at the end it's kind of cute. It's like, no. But yeah, I think it was a bit too rushed. Like, I don't think it has the build up, like say between like Shiro or Saber, or like I don't think it has much of the build up.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Yeah.
Like there's definitely a bond there. I think it was just too quick for romance. Like a friendship, or maybe like they're really close. Like maybe like a brother and sister, but
sort
not
of like
romance.
Sort of a Carrie and Mordred in a way.
Yeah.
So okay, let's go to the best girl question. I would say oh no, I'll say it last. Let's start with Heraclius. Who do you think is best girl?
Mordred and Jeanne d'Arc. It would have to be one of those two.
Okay. What about you, Tidy? Or Tudy?
Atlante and the Fury.
Huh? Atlante? Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're a
Okay.
furry. Okay.
Not because of that, but she is.
Oh, because she is
Can
a
be
furry.
helped.
Okay. Okay. What about you, George?
John the Arc.
And you, Baganda?
Okay, so the meme answer is going to be Astolfo, but if I'm being completely serious, I'm going to have to go with John the Arc.
Okay, I'm going to go with Mordred. I don't know, Jan or whatever felt a little bit bland to me.
Mary Sue.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
So, rather than going,
I mean, I like the tomboy archetype. That's just like Mordred as a personality and a look is not really my cup of tea.
I see.
Yeah, to me, she sort of is. Like, and God, they have her dressed like ridiculous. Oh, don't call me a woman, but I'm gonna dress ridiculously sloppily anyways. Like, but I like the scenes where she's like where she's like chasing the cats, or just completely acting out like a child at Kyrie. I thought those scenes were really cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
I suppose the best way I feel about Mordred is the type that is just, oh, you want to have a beer with and you want to hang out, but I don't know about forming a romantic relationship.
I see.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
that's
I think
basically
George.
the. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say you're right, George, and that's basically the whole basis of the tomboy archetype. The whole basis of the tomboy archetype is the like approachable, relatable character that can then be like someone you love. So like from that perspective, she's like the perfect tomboy.
So, I guess there's the scores. I'm going to give it 3 or a 4 out of 10. So, I don't know. I didn't really like. I didn't actively hate it or anything. Like, it was just bland. So I'll go with a 4 out of 10. What about you, Tudy?
It's been a while since I've seen it. I think it was, what, 5 years when it came out?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't remember very well the anime, so I'm going to go with a 5?
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
I'm also going with a 5.
And George,
I'm going to go with a 5.
Baganda?
I'm gonna go for a low 5. Like the show has some good moments, but it's so painfully boring and average that it doesn't utilize all its elements. And it definitely doesn't have like some of the interesting stuff that goes on, say like in Fate Stay Night or Fate Zero.
I mean,
yeah, sorry, go on.
I'll say this much: like, if we're going to compare this to completely bog standard seasonal show, this is slightly better than completely bog standard seasonal show.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But it's a Fate anime, so I guess people expect a little bit more.
Yes.
We forgot to talk about one servant, I think, Karna, or whatever. He had a good battle, and we talked a little bit about how it looked good.
Yeah,
but
they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have tons of time to deal with him. I felt, insofar as they did characterize him, he was just the guy who enjoyed fighting and had sort of had a tragic side to him. In terms of, like, apparently his backstory, he's like this famous Indian great hero, and died in like tragic manner or something, and so he's just ends up being like this very powerful servant who just kind of like cares about fighting on his own terms, which is fine. I kind of liked him off of how they showed him and how they portrayed him, but there wasn't tons to him from what they gave us.
What was his motivation for wanting the Grail?
Fuck if I know. The show didn't tell me. Let me see what the wiki tells me.
Yeah,
He's
you gotta
one of those
consult the
that-
scrolls.
He's one of those that shows up in multiple works. So I don't think he'll give here all his stories and motivation and all that. Like he's pretty popular.
Hmm.
He has a good design. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, like his design is fucking awesome. Like it's just this. He's cool as shit.
Yeah.
I think he's also main character in Fate Extra, next Stella and all the games.
Yes, he is. He does. I've got one of the games. I've been playing, and I got the game with Charlemagne. Yeah, he's in Fate. He pops up in Fate Extra quite a bit.
And I also think there's a manga.
Oh, the wiki tells me he has no wish for the Holy Grail, but he desires to battle Siegfried once more and save his master.
But if he has no wish,
so he got those both.
yeah. But if he has no wish for the Holy Grail, then why was he summoned by the Holy Grail?
It's the masters that summon, and it's kind of irrelevant whether a
really?
servant. Yeah. A master will oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes
Purposely
like,
summon a
there's-
specific guy.
Yeah, it's like there's sometimes like for a complete outsider, the Grail might choose like certain masters that want the Grail, and oftentimes most servants will have a wish for the Grail, but it's not like a requirement or anything.
Because I remember, but I guess in Fate Zero it was more about the master, right? With Kotomine, like Gilgamesh was saying, like you wouldn't be you wouldn't be a master if you really didn't want.
Yeah, because it's one thing if you have someone like Rin, although even then she wanted to win the Grail just to say that she won the Grail, but she didn't want to actually use it. You have it's one thing to have a master that's like part of the whole thing, or like is one of the three major clans and would join it. But the fact that Kirei was an outsider and was chosen said that like the Grail was purposefully choosing him in some capacity. And that reason was because the devil was inside the Grail, and the devil probably realized that Kirei was the closest thing to him.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it smelled of their own kind. But there's also the thing in Fate Stay Night of where if you don't have like, so you need a catalyst or something like, so say for example, one of us here, like, I'm going to use an example, like, say for example, I want to summon Braveheart, right? The Scottish hero Braveheart, right? I need like a thing that he owned in life or something that's important to him, right? Say I use his Claymore, right? Like I grab his Claymore that he used in battle, and I use that as a catalyst to summon him, and I summon Braveheart. Here's the thing. If I just do like a random summoning without a catalyst, I could get anyone.
Yeah. It'll be, if you do it without a catalyst, it'll be like friggin' anyone. You have no idea. If you do have a catalyst, then you will probably get the person,
The one you're looking for.
Unless it turns out that you have unless it turns out the catalyst could like be a catalyst for multiple people, in which case, then that's a bit of a roll of the dice. I found it kind of rude that Mordred, like the moment that she's summoned, just smashes her own catalyst. Like, jeez, I could use that in the future.
Yeah, yeah, especially in Grand Order where they actually really need every heroic spirit they can get. Look, the world is ending. I don't care if you want to sleep. We've got to fucking grind Saints Quartz. I'll get to work.
Don't they summon someone with similar personality when they do it without a catalyst?
Yes, oftentimes, yes. If they have a similar personality, yes, that's one of the. It'll oftentimes choose for someone that overlaps.
Yeah, that's compatible. Because didn't the serial killer guy not have a catalyst and he summoned like a fucking... I can't pronounce his name, but like he was one of... Yeah, Dra. Yeah, he summoned like the batshit version of him because apparently as a saber, the dude was actually pretty stable. And then he went like batshit.
Yeah, he like went batshit. I think there's actually some debate over whether he was actually a child serial killer or whether or whether that crime was forced upon him. But either way, the official story is, and he did confess to, being a child serial killer.
By the way, off topic a little. Did anyone else find the sound effects here a little bit weird?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you guys mean? What?
Someone else explain? Maybe?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I ask if can someone else with better English explain?
Oh yeah, sure. I kind of feel like the sound effects of the show don't. This is gonna sound really weird, but like the tactile depth that depth that say Fate Zero or Fate Stay Night had, like even the Dean adaptation, like I don't know, the world felt a bit more alive,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and this it kind of
Which is
doesn't.
the sound of swords striking one another, like that type of thing. Sound effects.
Literally the sound effect.
Yeah, that was kind of weird too.
A little bit, but I would say another issue with Fate Apocrypha is the world outside of like, oh, it's this random Romanian village just felt kind of empty.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they pick that village? I don't understand. Like why? I see Romania, but why that village in particular? I don't know.
Wasn't it because it was Danik's domain or whatever, and that's where his base was. That's where he.
Yeah, I mean as a plot reason, but as a writer, why would you
Sorry
do
to
it there?
interrupt, but, well, I'm going to have a daily stream with one of my friends, so I'll see you guys a bit.
Yep,
See you guys
see you.
later.
All right. Catch you later, George.
See you. So I guess we could quickly go over the comments which we left on the server, which I kind of put together in a blog post on the SOS Brigade site. Do you think there would be any point in doing that, Heraclius?
Going after what?
I'm scanning through them to see if there's anything interesting here.
Yeah, concerning the scrolls.
Asus. Oh, I'll point. Well, that's just. This is sort of like what we've gone over before, but I said, quote, I was watching some of Fate Zero's first episode. What's remarkable is that show opens with scene by scene setting up the motivations of each master, really in depth. Not just 2-second lines, but whole scenes devoted to the backstory of those characters. And I can't really see any similar comparison in Fate Apocrypha. At the time, they didn't even show Kyrie's backstory. Kyrie Shishigo, he just seemed to have been dragged in against his will. Dornick wants to reach the root. Every other Black Master doesn't
Wasn't
really
he
seem to have a
hired?
wish. He was hired, yes, as
Yes,
sort
as
of in as
well.
a mercenary. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I only talked to that thing with Achilles.
By the way, the animation
not-
in the go.
Oh, I was just saying I talked about that. None of the servant, not as many of the servants seemed desperate for the Grail, which was a little bit of a change.
Yeah, like some of them, like some of it just seems like they're just alive and here for the enjoyment of being in the real world again. I guess.
Yeah, which is not unusual for Fate, but it.
I mean,
feel
Alexander the Great was playing fucking video games. He's like, shit, man, the world is much bigger than I thought it was. Shit, man, I want to be alive again so I can conquer it all again. Like,
Yeah.
I can totally see Alexander the Great doing that. Like, he's like, man, I was thinking so fucking small.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine. He thought he was going to reach the end of the world at any point. And he's like, oh my gosh, it's so much bigger. But, but you do have, like, in Fate, characters like Gahulin that aren't that interested in the Grail. But I think when you have too many of them, it just leads to, like, you don't have anyone to root for as much. So
Yeah.
So
I mean, in his case, it just kind of like he was just looking for a good fight, Celtic warrior shit.
yeah, and a lot of the other characters in this had similar motivations, but there was arguably a little too much of that.
Yeah. I mean, I can expect it from Achilles, considering that he's like an arrogant Greek warrior and shit like that. Like, I can understand that. The others are a bit.
So
Like, for example, Karma, the Indian guy. Like, I looked a little bit about. I did look a little bit into his legend. He didn't really seem like the type that actively looked for combat.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't. Like, I don't know why he said that. I didn't see him in Fate Apocrypha, like, looking for combat, except Siegfried, who had a thing going on, like, rivalry.
I guess it's that Karna apparently had a rivalry in his own life, so maybe he was seeing that rivalry again with Siegfried.
Yeah.
That was probably what they were going for, I imagine. Even though it wasn't
Yeah.
really clear, to be honest, because
Yeah, it kind of fell flat. Like, honestly, yeah, and the only thing I really liked about Siegfried is when he like sacrificed himself to save the homunculus. I thought that was kind of a cool scene.
yeah, but does it make sense? I guess it's the question. I guess you know, because like earlier we were talking about how like in in Fate Stay Night, or rather Unlimited Blade Works, I think. When Shiro gets, I guess, his hand transplanted or something.
That's Heaven's Feel.
Heaven's Field, there you go. And he basically has to suffer for it. He doesn't go right on, but with his homunculus, the heart fits right in. I guess he does slowly turn into a dragon. So that's the downside in this case.
I mean, honestly, like, I'm shocked it didn't. Like, I think it wasn't exactly his heart. It was like his spirit core or something like that.
I see.
Like, basically, he dumped his like essence into fucking like. Like, I'm surprised that Sig could even like walk and stand after that shit. Like, after all, like, he should have been like hospitalized for months.
I mean, wasn't he already weak to begin with? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the heart gave him like more energy and made him capable of living a full life. But then he like uses that to like become a servant temporarily, which is like killing him, and like his skin is turning purple in parts.
So
And he becomes a dragon.
So one of the criticisms of Fate Zero was that the characters spent too much time just talking and talking without doing any fighting. But here I feel like the opposite is like
There's too much fighting, not enough talking.
yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of the point. That's kind of the appeal of it. But in the anime, they dropped the ball, especially in the first half with the low production quality values.
Yeah, that is another issue. Yeah, they really saved all the animation budget for the second half, which is sometimes somewhat understandable, but it really left you with absolutely no hook and absolutely no reason to keep watching, I gotta say.
I mean, if the animation was really good, then even if the story wasn't really that good, I could just say, oh well, it looked pretty. So
Yeah, at least the colors were pretty. You know,
Yeah.
it's really cool when, you know, they start blowing up shit with these spears and shit.
exactly.
And I mean, I can at least say that about like the ending episodes, but you have to go through so much to actually get to there.
Mm.
And also the fact that they kind of fucked up on the on having solid introduction for characters. Like, especially the first half, like I said, they cut out a lot.
Did you feel like both sides were balanced in terms of servants?
No.
No, definitely not.
Because I kind of felt like Shiro's side was a lot more
Yes.
powerful. Yeah, but
Yeah, like a lot of the I kind of felt like it didn't really feel that balanced. Like, it kind of felt like the red faction was gonna win anyway. Like I didn't even read the fucking spoilers or shit like that by head. I'm just like, yeah, the red faction's probably gonna win.
I mean, the Black Faction had the Dracula and the Golem, but they kind of didn't use them right.
No.
So I think that if they used them right, the Golem and the Dracula Novel Phantom, they had a better chance, better balance between the teams.
I guess Well, I guess according to Sieg, they do end up working as a team at the end. Um, I hear some echo, by the way. Is somebody not wearing a headset? Maybe it's just a Discord fucking up, probably.
I've got my headset on.
Yeah. Okay. But by the way, do you have any idea, Bagan, do you have any idea how Shiro Kotomine was able to stay alive since the previous Grail War? Because he was a servant.
I don't know, siphoning mana like Gilgamesh was.
Yeah, that's the issue. Like, I would assume that would be the method, but at the same time, like, this character is
Yeah.
not morally capable of doing that. So
Yeah, this is a guy. This is like the original Japanese saint. Like, I actually read about this guy, a little bit about this guy. He doesn't really seem like the type of character that would be like siphoning mana from people to stay alive. So,
no.
like, unless he's being kept alive by faith and prayers.
The Lord is intervening.
No, listen, it's Elder Fox is like keeping him like the keeping him alive through prayers. Like the Vatican is what's keeping him alive.
Sure. Like, I speculated that maybe, even though it says the Grail War ended in like an absolute failure, maybe somehow he got his wish to reincarnate, and maybe he only later got a wish to change the world. And as, like, I guess a little proof for that is the fact that when he dies, he doesn't actually dematerialize.
Biogan,
Yeah, because I think Gilgamesh also became flesh and blood, but he still required a fuck ton of mana.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It was never clear to me if he really became flesh and blood or not, or if that was.
I think in Gilgamesh's case, his one was like incomplete. I think of this guy, you can make the argument that he is a complete flesh and blood human being again.
Yeah.
So, Baugan, did you get a? Do you think it was clear enough what Kotomine Shiro Kotomine meant by salvation of mankind or whatever? What his goal was?
Yeah, it seems like he just wanted a world free of suffering. That's just kind of what it comes off as. And like, if you read more about this guy, that kind of makes sense. I mean, this is a guy who, with all his followers, they basically almost starved to death in a castle until one guy sold them out, and then that guy got killed, and everyone got like executed and shit like that. I mean, this is a guy who, up until his final moments, lived in absolute suffering, but did not waver in his faith in God and shit like that. So I could totally see that as a motivation.
Yeah, but I guess the last time the Grail basically tried to kill everyone. So
he doesn't know that.
But you see, deep fate lore mechanics in that third Grail War, you had the devil take over the Holy Grail. But this third Grail War went completely differently. So this Grail War, the devil isn't in the Grail. Yeah,
but didn't that thing with Angry Mario, whatever, happened like ages ago?
No, it literally happened in the third Grail War. Yeah, really deep fate lore shit that they're not going to tell you.
Not really.
Yeah, this is why you need to consult the scrolls. Go see the Three Wise Men. Go browse the wiki. Watch Otaku Daikun, and this other dude I'm going to recommend you because he does good breakdowns. And then at some point, most of half of the shit will make sense at some point.
Wait, the explanation is actually pretty simple here. Like, instead of summoning the demon, the devil, they summon the Shiro.
Yes, exactly.
That's the difference in this world.
Yeah, literally. Apparently, the master of Amakusa summoned Avenger Angraminyu in the other war.
Is there an explanation why Shiro Kotomine's name sounds like another two characters' names put together?
It's literally just a fucking joke. It's literally just a joke over the fact that Emiya Shiro and Kirei Kotomine are like perfect reflections of one another. And I guess sort of the idea that maybe has elements of both of those characters.
I can see that.
Like his actual name in history?
Huh? No,
Wasn't
no,
his-
no. Shiro Kotomine is like the name he takes.
No Kotomi, just Shiro. Wasn't his name Shiro in actual history?
Oh, well,
let
yeah,
me
true.
check.
Amakusa Shiro Tokisada, yes.
And in
That was
case
part
he
of
was
his name.
adopted by Kotomine, right?
Yes, yes. So in that capacity,
I
it does
see.
make
It
sense.
does make sense. It's not a coincidence. I see. Good.
Let me
No, I mean,
see.
he's right. They did for that parallel with Kotomi and Shiro, but in canon, I think this is an explanation.
Not
Yes,
not a bad
yes.
explanation, actually. Not a bad explanation. So I guess then he would be like
Yeah, so his name was Amakamasa Shiro. His Christian name was Jimiro. Oh, and then he changed to Francesco.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he's the stepbrother of the other Kotomine, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which we didn't get to see here unless yeah.
I find it funny that they felt like at the time a need to like Europeanize the names. Like at modern day, you'd think of like, oh, that's Christianizing a name, really? But we'd think of that as being like sort of odd and not particularly Christian. Like at most, you'd take like a middle name of a saint or something.
Wasn't Jesus also doing this, like changing the name of his apostles?
Yes, but that was like somewhat symbolic. That was like Saul to Paul, stuff like that.
I think I already asked this question, but Baogandam, did you feel like there was too much magical energy, like it wasn't really a limitation?
Yes.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, because like in the previous shows, like yeah, you had like the big explosions or like they summon a big giant tentacle monster. But here's the thing: that was like more like a one every now and then episode, every once every like couple of episodes. And this show is all over the goddamn place. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ! I mean, there's so many fucking gas explosions that the oil pipelines are gonna have to cover up.
yeah, and also there's that giant thing in the sky.
Don't worry, they covered it up. It was a satellite explosion.
I see. I mean, for real, or like, are you just joking? I don't think.
It's a joke.
Yeah, I see.
It's sarcasm. It's like in Fate Zero when they had the giant tentacle monster lifting up. What was it, a giant tentacle monster? It was oil explosion, oil refinery explosion. Wait, there's no oil. Right, no, shut up. Shut up. Shh.
I see. Yeah, another thing which Heraclius brought up was that originally, apparently, this was supposed to be an MMORPG, Fate Apocrypha. Does it show anywhere that this was supposed to be, that these are MMO characters, I guess?
I mean, the character designs definitely seem a bit more video game-ish. Like this was originally a light novel adaptation, so I could see that. But like the anime to me kind of screams light novel.
Yeah.
I think it's the artist that made them like that. Like, I don't think it's because it was a game or anything like that. The character design I'm talking about.
Okay, let's see.
Like, I think he also did the Lancer and Archer in Fate prototype, and you can see the edginess on those, like actual edges on their armor.
Yeah, I actually like the prototype Kukulin armor more than like because I like his design, but I like the prototype more. Let me go find the picture of it.
Yeah, I think that was by the same artist. I think so.
Let me check. Because I like the prototype one of Kukulin more. Like it's like, oh, why can't we have this design? Because this looks awesome. I think they bring it back every now and then. Where is he? Where is he? Oh yeah, here he is. Let's go. Interesting thing about Kukulin. So this is kind of like an aside, but apparently they people have found genealogical evidence to suggest that he might have been an actual real person.
So Heraclius.
This is like a hypothetical, but they might have discovered because basically there's a bunch of like Irish clans that share like a similar like a same male ancestor that is around that dates back to around the time that Kukulin was supposedly around. So there's a theory going around that this ancestor might be Cuchulainn, so he might actually be an actual real person. But
So, earlier, Heraclius, you were saying that you thought the fact that characters like the lolly Asfolso, and others, the fact that they were fetish characters detracted from their character. But
Yes.
so I was looking at the article thing which I wrote, and my response to that was, well, don't you think that characters like Rin, who is basically a tsundere, and Saber,
No.
they are not fetish characters?
No.
I mean, they certainly have. Okay, Rin is a tsundere, yes, and obviously
And
she has
Ren has a nice ass.
Yeah, and she definitely has the twin tails and the thigh highs and those traditional things. But Rin also has this whole thing. In term, she's like very self confident. Like, let's put it this way: Rin at no point acts like a friggin' clown or acts like some wild ass slut or something like that. Rin tends to be, she's almost the advisor type character in a way, and she's like the most trustworthy character in a lot of ways. The last route actually sets itself up by having her turn against you. Saber, obviously, it's a fetish decision, and actually, like, originally they were going to like make Fate a light novel, and like then they had to make it into a visual novel, and so part of that was, well, hey, we need girls to fuck, so let's make Arthur a girl. So obviously, the change was a fetish decision.
Yeah,
but Saber is a character far beyond that. She has her whole thing going on with what does it mean to be a good king. She feels like she failed her kingdom. She's
she has this
noble,
awakening
upright,
feminine
stoic. Yeah, she has a feminine side to it.
So I guess
The reason I am talking so derisively of Jack or that one whoever the fuck was Astolfo's master is because they have nothing else to them. So literally every scene in this with Astolfo's master is her being sadistic and sexual. There is not a single other scene where she doesn't act that way.
So I guess the problem is not that they are fetish characters, but the problem is that they are just fetish characters and no more than that.
They're defined by the fact that they are fetish characters. That's the issue. Like, and even Astolfo, even if he has like a little bit other stuff going on, he's still defined by the fact that he's a train.
Except he isn't, but okay.
Yeah, he's just very effeminate and wants Sig to buckbreak him, but that's basically his character at this point.
Yeah. So Shakespeare, in the series, I guess I kind of felt like when trying to explain what the fuck was his point in the series. I guess
his point is to enjoy life and watch the shit show that is life.
Be there for the numbers.
I guess
the numbers, Mason.
Feel the quota.
Sorry. I felt like it was supposed to be like a self-insert for the audience. Like you're supposed to be as excited as Shakespeare is about the story which is unfolding. But it doesn't really work if you're not already excited about the story. I guess like maybe a little bit like Speedwagon, or maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it kind of feels like they made Shakespeare more into like a hype man.
Exactly, yeah. Like those side characters, you know the paid actors in Initial D.
Yeah.
Standards, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, so basically, what I'm looking at, by the way, by Gundam is, so I made a post on the server site or whatever you want to call it, with all the comments about Fate Apocrypha from the server that I could find and put them into one. Okay. So let's see. As for Sieg, after he saved the homunculi, who are going to die in 3 years, since Sieg didn't use the Grail to save them. So he didn't really save them. He just gave them freedom or a choice or something, which I guess was more the point. I suppose.
I mean, I think the point is that like at least they have a choice with the limited time they have left.
I see. So basically, the rest is just me as needing that. Basically, he doesn't have beyond that. He doesn't really have his own motivation. He just accepts Jan's resolve, and then I quote what she says to Kotomine to Shiro Kotomine when she says that if humanity is given immortality in a miracle, humanity will lose faith in their own potential, or something. So, which I mean, you could write a blog post about like their disagreement or whatever, but it would mostly be like.
I mean, here's the thing. Humans aren't actually supposed to live that long. All right, we're not supposed to be immortal. Because here's the thing. After a point of time, eventually, ennui's about to set in, or like your brain's just gonna start melting. Like if you're immortal, right? Ennui is gonna set in really quickly. Because like, how can you keep yourself entertained or amused after the next century and a half? I mean, why do you think a lot of vampire stories are them going fucking batshit insane? Because
So
like if I live for fucking a couple of 100 years, you better goddamn believe that either I have some grand purpose in life or some goal I'm working towards, or I have new things to keep things fresh.
So I guess what's left, by the way, is just to talk about the long comment which you left on the article, Heraclius. Do you think it's worth talking about it? Do you remember?
I went over everything on that we've gone here.
So okay, I don't think there's anything else left to cover. What do you think, guys?
Nah, it's fine. I'm good. Like I was just saw you guys are still recording. I was like, oh yeah, I'll pop in for a bit. I got nothing else better to do. Woke up early.
So okay, so what's this meme? Come watch Fate. We have blown beauties, ties, hot guys. Yeah, dumb quotes. So there weren't any funny quotes in this one either, to be honest.
No. It was kind of sad.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nothing like, wow, the archer class really is made up of archers.
Well, actually, technically, the archer class is also actually, there's crossbowmen and also gunmen.
Wasn't one about Berserker going berserk, or something like that?
Yeah, I don't think. Is that quote there? Then why does berserk go berserk?
Yes,
it is there.
It is there.
It's got people die if they're killed. When you have a birthday, you celebrate being born. Just because you're correct doesn't mean you're right.
Yep.
I think
these are like old Shiro.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, I guess the problem here is that there's no Shiro. Maybe that's why it sucks.
Yeah, okay. We did have one dumb quote. One of them is from fucking Fate Apocrypha. Then why does Berserker go berserk?
Fuck, Judy, why did you post not safe for work in? Well, I think you in the recording channel. I think I showed that on screen. Never mind.
Okay, well there goes the channel in the Discord server. It's good working with you guys.
Yes.
See you in the concentration camp.
Yeah. Hopefully, it might not be a problem because like there's no genitalia in that drawing.
No, there's no nipples either, so I think you're fine.
Yeah, I think I remember it was a gag in No Game No Life as well. Like they basically showed the characters naked, but there's no genitalia, so we can't get away with it. That was a joke. So
yeah, I will say that Fate Apocrypha doesn't have many of like the dumb quotes, which is kind of like a staple of this fucking franchise.
So does it get any better? That's the question. Does it get any better? Or is this like
No, Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night are really the peak. Extra. Biogundam, have you watched the extra anime?
Yes, I have.
How did you like it?
It was okay. Like, I liked Apocrypha a bit more. Like,
Really?
like here's the thing. Fate Extra is fine as a like. Here's the thing. Fate Extra is great as a Fate Stay Night video game.
Mhm.
As an anime, it's kind of meh. Like, it's not bad.
I kind of liked it as an anime. I wasn't completely blown away by it, but I liked it. It was just like sort of like a mind fuck the whole way through, so I kind of liked it.
Yeah, like here's the thing. I don't think it's bad. It's just kind of like it's same with Fate Apocrypha. Like, there's good shit here. It's just kind of meh.
I did also feel like watching through that, it was like the closest in terms of like recreating the actual writing style in an anime. So I kind of appreciated that. But
but also I thought the animation was pretty good, and the opening song is pretty good, and also has like Nero, Umu. So it had some good moments.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah, I can't point to you for anything that I really point to. The issue is Fate Grand Order happened, and they made literally oodles of money off of that. Like, they've made billions upon
They're still
billions.
making money.
It's still making money. It's still making them billions of dollars.
It's a fucking money printer, dude.
Like, literally, if that doesn't tell you everything about like what's wrong with society, capitalism, whatever, it's the fact that all of these like very well regarded works up until then, like, made a fair amount, but like basically a pittance, and then they make what's essentially a gambling game for your waifu, almost entirely made to exploit people, and it just makes you billions of dollars. Because I mean, you are appealing to people's
billions.
literal billions. Of course, you are appealing to people's baser instincts, but like, should that really be allowed?
I mean, Biogundam, it sounded like you have actually played, and maybe Judy as well. Maybe have you guys played Fate Grand Order?
I haven't played Grand Order, but I've played Fate Extra. But yeah, I've seen people play that shit. That game looks addictive as fuck.
Yes, I played it. I hate it. I always hated it. I still play it. I still hate it.
Yeah, I
like
played
you play
it
out of spite.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I need to know the story.
I got on it when it first when they like premiered it in North America, and like at anime conventions they had like fucking Saber on buses. It was in LA. It was really wild, but the issue with it, yeah, it's got like sort of a strategy type formula similar to the Fate Extra game, where it's a little bit rock paper scissors. You try and chain together attacks, and like
That's for the
theoretically,
gameplay.
yeah, there's theoretically actually a lot of depth to it. The issue is that 99% of your battles will be no challenge at all and just pure grind through. And so that's why it's just not remotely a fun game. If there was, and on top of that, the stories are mostly meh.
The stories are like feels like badly written fan fiction. No offense, but it kind of does.
Yeah, more or less. You literally, this is the thing that bugs the hell out of me. They will give you dialogue choices, and they make no difference. Like, literally, you will, like, make the dialogue choice, and let's say I, like, exit out of the application, go back in the application, I make the same dialogue choice. It gives me the exact same response. It is false dialogue choices.
By the way, you complained about Fate Apocrypha playing loose with the rules, but like there's nothing compared to Fate Grand Order and the other titles in the series.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
I mean,
that's...
I mean, if it hasn't got a gameplay story, or anything going for it, why do people play it?
Waifus!
People actually like
Husbandos,
the story,
memes.
but they have bad taste, to be honest.
Huh?
People actually like the story, but people don't know better.
Do. Some people do.
Yeah, I watched an anime adaptation of Fate Grand Order. Like, it was okay, but it's just kind of like, this feels like really badly written fanfiction.
Yeah, it's like very discount all the ideas that you've seen before. And it's like, yeah, they're good ideas, but it's very discount nonetheless. So it's like,
Is-
the heart's the heart
The
was
heart's not there.
The heart's not there. I mean, supposedly this Tsukihime remake that they came out with is I think was pretty well received, but I mean, not much of it translated yet.
Yeah, I'm quite a big fan of Tsukihime. So far from what I'm seeing, it looks very promising.
Yeah. I know they've like I saw recently that there's some fan patch up to like day 5 or something, but that's still pretty early.
Are you talking about an anime or a visual novel?
A visual novel. A visual novel.
Yeah, they did. They did a remake. Yeah, yeah. There is no Tsukihime anime, but anyway, they did a remake of Tsukihime. They fleshed out a few more concepts. They changed a couple of things around, but for the most part, it's still the same story. There's some more filler in a little bit. They fleshed out a few more ideas.
Like,
I don't think it's too bad, but the original's still better.
So the original visual novel as opposed to the remake of the visual novel?
It made changes, from what I understand, to the new one, to the story.
Oh, the story is different.
Yes.
I think it's stupid, but apparently they did. I don't know what yet.
So, I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't mind if they made a lot of money from FGO and used some of that money to make some other VNs, actual real VNs. Yeah.
I hope.
Oh yeah.
I hear they make a Mahoyo movie next year or something like that. And I hope that makes money because I want more of that.
Yeah, I very much will be interested in watching that since it'll actually get subs. Mahotsukai no Yoru, Witch on the Holy Night. It's sort of a background story for like Ayoko Ayozaki, who's just like a mage in Tsukihime.
Oh yeah, the red-haired chick. Yeah, she's great.
Mm-hmm. There's also, if you're interested, a like little fighting game called Melty Blood, and they just had like a new revamped version come out very recently.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been playing a little. It's a fun game. They're all very Blaze Blue-esque. And Melty Blood's had like this sort of like weird niche fighting game fans that are devoted to it for some time. People who are like not even anime fans, don't even necessarily have an interest, but just like got into that game.
Melty Blood, I see.
Yeah, there's even a couple of mangas about it too, because I think Melty Blood is like a pseudo sequel to Tsukihime.
Yeah.
I mean, is this even though? I mean, it's kind of. Is it even though it's a fighting game? Is it like story heavy or more fighting?
No, very not much. No, it's not like It's not like Blaze Blue where you have like full ongoing story. It's just like a simple arcade route where characters quip at one another, and then there's a fight, and then there's an ending at the end of the arcade route, and that's it. Done.
Isn't the villain in that one the actual Dracula, the actual Knight of Wallachia?
Yeah, in the old ones, yes, the old Melty Bloods.
I remember that one of the villains is literally like a clone of Arquay that's gone insane from Bloodlust.
Red Arquade.
Yeah, we should actually, on the list, we should talk about Tsukihime at some point because, I like
Vampires.
Tsukihime, but there's
Vampires in general, maybe.
So Tsukihime, is it the original visual novel or what?
Well,
there's also a manga adaptation, but we probably do the
Which
visual
is
novel.
pretty good, the manga.
Yeah, manga's pretty good.
But
I actually did a review on it. It's pretty good manga.
but the original visual novel is the best, I guess.
yeah, that was how Type Moon actually got their start. The author Kinoko Natsu had put up a couple of the Kira no Kyokai novels, but he hadn't. But he moved on to. But they just sort of did all right. And technically, the Witch on the Holy Night story was just like a story he'd passed around between friends. Tsukihime was like the first big release that did well, and it's like a kind of dated visuals in a lot of visual novel, but what it managed to really capture popular attention, and it for like what was just like a doujin visual novel that was put out, it was considered to be like extraordinarily high quality. And so that gave them the interest and I guess a certain amount of funding.
I mean, they
to make
did
Fate
all
Stay Night.
Yeah, I mean, they did most of Tsukihime, I do believe, in like some basement or something like that. I mean, for what it is, it's fairly decent.
Yeah, to give you an idea, Tsukihime has no voice acting in it, and when Fate Stay Night was first made, it had no voice acting in it. They only added voice acting in when they got the Studio Dean TV adaptation, and then they got all the TV actors to like voice the entire VN, which must have been a very long process.
So we have a VN guy now on the server, and next week he said he wanted to talk about his favorite eroge called One Kagayaku Kisetsu E toward the Shining season or something.
Okay, I don't think you know how long visual novels are.
Long.
Really
long.
By the way, you said you played the 5 days of New Tsukihime. Is it better, like a better visual novel than Mahoyo? Better animated?
No, I was just saying that there is actually a guy that has subtitled the 5 that has like put out like a patch of like the first 5 days of the Tsukihime remake. That's all I was saying.
Like even if it's shit, that if it's as good looking and high quality as Mahoyo, I still read it.
Yeah, it is like up there with Mahoyo in terms of like quality of the CGs and whatnot. Yeah.
I think we should at some point start talking about VNs. Which
if we ever do VNs, we'll have to talk about Tsukihime. Tsukihime.
Okay. You've made your point.
Wait till the new one.
It's admittedly not the longest.
Maybe wait until the new one is translated and do on that one.
It's been like nearly a year since the remake. Well, okay. When
the remakes haven't finished? There's like a second part they're doing out because they're releasing a route for a girl that was supposed to get a route in the first game but didn't.
Oh god, sounds like
you have a vampire you can date.
Yeah, no, it's going to take. I'm sure the fans' translation is going to take years to be full.
So that's a character from Tsukihime.
That's my favorite.
Oh yeah, Alquaid, yeah.
She's great.
Alquaid's good.
The artwork doesn't look that bad. Let's be honest. I imagine.
Yeah, this was literally made in a fucking basement somewhere. Like this is actually fairly good for shit that's made in a basement in the 90s.
Yeah, the backgrounds are a bit bad, but the character looks alright.
Yeah, the backgrounds are literally just like pictures they took that they slightly changed. Like it's very much an Ava aesthetic. Like I've seen interviews where Nasu basically admits that he wanted to start writing because he was inspired by Ava, and so wanted to start doing things sort of along those lines.
Yeah, so basically next week I'll be talking with him about that VN if I can really actually manage to play it, because it sounds like it's not going to be easy. Uh, if it's really long, if VNs are as long as you say.
Well, what's the name of it? I'll type it into VNDB because it gives me estimates on how long they are.
Okay, let me. It's called.
But by the way, I looked it up. The author for Fate Apocrypha started off with VNs, which is not uncommon.
Oh, he started the author of Apocrypha started with VNs. Okay, nice.
Yes.
Give me a second. I'll find it. It's called 1 to the Radiant Season. I'll put it.
That sounds slightly familiar. Can you type that in chat?
Yeah.
Okay. Looks like a key. No, but it's not. It's tactics. Says medium, 23 hours.
No, it's short compared to. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
but by the way, I just want to mention the average visual novel is 50 hours.
Yes, I expected double.
Your reaction is perfect.
I nearly.
Oh, it's this one.
Yeah, this is why I haven't gotten into visual novels too much, because to be honest, when I've dipped my toe in, I've basically come to the conclusion that there are some worthwhile ones at the very top of the heap, but you go too much below that, and you've got what are essentially mediocre stories that are being boosted by the fact that they have more time for things. And it's like, that's not bad, but
Yeah.
I don't have infinite time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dudes. I don't like. I have work and shit. I don't have 22 hours to play like a single VN. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Plus, I play like. There's a couple of VNs I need to get around playing. Like I've played most of the ones I want to play at this point.
Yeah, but that stream, by the way, is going to be right after the stream, the Chainsaw Man stream. So if you can make it to the Chainsaw Man stream, do that.
I don't think you
I'm
know
not-
what you've committed to, student. I don't think you know
No, I
at
don't
all.
think you have. I think you've bitten off more than you can chew.
Yeah, I probably have to delay the VN talk then, but for now, it's set to that. It's
We're also going to have to explain to you how to install the things, because it looks like this is only fan patches on this one.
Yeah, and this one looks quite old, so we're gonna have to, go to Nya, find the torrent, and then we're gonna swap your fucking computer to fucking Japanese.
Well, look, student's
Oh my God.
computer is about as old as this VN, so he might be all right in that capacity.
Yeah, all right, true, but yeah. So when you do the VN, me and Hercules will jump into a voice call and do like tech support.
all
Pretty
right.
much, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. So that will happen after. So anyway, I think I'll stop recording now because